Apocalypse. My abilities are becoming more and more wicked. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 1: Half a bottle of spoiled milk. The feeling of falling at a high speed made Lin Qi suddenly open his eyes. After concentrating for a long time, he could still feel his body slowly sinking down. After taking a deep breath, his stiff body slowly regained consciousness, but the numbness like electric shock had not yet dissipated. "Brother Lin, are you awake?" The voice in his ear made Lin Qi subconsciously turn his head to look, but he felt that it was somewhat familiar and somewhat strange. Are you Zhao Tuanchuan?" Most of his vision was blocked, and he could only see the upper half of the girl's face. He didn't recognize her, but the name emerged in his mind. When Lin Qi was about to observe the surroundings and why he appeared in this place, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his mind, as if countless information was pouring in, and he felt dizzy again, almost making him faint. What kind of memory do I have? Have I traveled through time? But after the memories quickly merged, Lin Qi's face became more and more ugly. His name is exactly the same as the name of this body, and even his life experiences have many overlaps. It seems that he is another self in a parallel space. Moreover, this world seems to be on the verge of doomsday and has already begun to collapse. "Brother Lin, have a drink." Tuanchuan's voice was a little strange. He took out a white bottle from his arms and handed it over carefully. Lin Qi felt that his body was full of soreness, and even a stabbing pain came from the back of his head, which made him lose his spirit. Did his body seem to have been beaten to death just now? He didn't care what Tuanchuan handed over and drank it directly. "This milk has gone bad." After drinking it in one breath, he felt his stomach slowly moving, and a trace of remaining strength slowly spread to his limbs. Lin Qi licked the wet heat at the corner of his mouth, and then he looked at the girl in front of him carefully. Zhao Tuanchuan, the daughter of the hotel owner, just graduated from high school, 18 years old, well-behaved, cute. I don't remember much contact with her. Even if I lived in the hotel for nearly 3 months, I didn't communicate with her a few times. But now she has a dirty face, greasy hair, and dust all over her body, as if she deliberately dirtied herself. I added some water. It shouldn't be a problem if you drink it." Zhao Tuanchuan lowered her head, not daring to let Lin Qi see the panic on her face. I don't know if it was because of the effect of this half bottle of milk. Lin Qi gradually felt that his body had recovered some strength, but when he thought of the environment he was in now, he became more and more anxious. "I have been fighting for half my life in another parallel time and space, and I can be considered to have my own family business, but I haven't had time to enjoy it yet. When I wake up again, I face a more miserable life." With the help of Tuanchuan, Lin got up from the bed, went to the window and looked out, and his heart became more and more desperate. "It seems that the memories I received are all real. The end of the world has been coming for 3 months. This small hotel was originally the property of Tuanchuan's family. When the virus spread 3 months ago, it was allocated as a temporary isolation center. In the first month, the virus was rampant and most people could not escape, but the virus was not serious at first. In the second month, some of the infected people recovered automatically, but most of the conditions became more and more serious, and some patients even showed signs of decay. At the beginning of the third month, the virus broke out completely, and countless infected people mutated and became terrifying zombies, biting anyone they saw, making the order that had been maintained for 2 months completely useless. Especially 3 days ago, all the isolated patients turned into zombies, becoming unconscious living dead, which completely exposed human nature. Before, Tuanchuan was still able to make those people dare not act presumptuously because of his identity as the owner of the hotel. But with the death of Tuanchuan's family, the long-accumulated resentment trapped here, even those who gave them favors could be ignored. Lin Qi just stopped them and was beaten. Fortunately, the restlessness of the zombies outside temporarily attracted their attention, so Tuanchuan took him to her room and temporarily escaped. Outside the window, downstairs, several figures holding simple long weapons were confronting several wandering zombies. The zombies with decayed bodies moved very slowly, and some of their limbs even exposed white bones. But they did not need much attack power, just that hideous and terrifying state was enough to make people sick and unable to use their strength. "Be careful. Everyone, Stay calm. One of you two will poke the chest and the other one will poke the head. These zombies are easy to deal with. The leader was slightly fat, with a square face and gold-rimmed glasses. His voice was slightly low, but he had a commanding tone. He shrank at the back and leaned back slightly, with a tendency to retreat directly to the hotel when he saw that the situation was not good. Director Wang, you make it sound easy. If you are bitten by a zombie, you will be infected. Although most people have experienced the first viral infection and recovered on their own, if they are infected by this mutated virus for the second time, they will completely fall into similar creatures in a very short time. It is even more terrifying than this rotten zombie. Damn it. When this thing rushes in, we will all be infected. As long as we stop these zombies and wait for the federal rescue to arrive, I will definitely take you away from here. Fatty Wang, who looked like a leader, cursed angrily and kicked the man in front of him on the butt. He had no courage to deal with zombies, but when dealing with people, his set of verbal skills was more effective than force. The man holding the simple spear did not resist because of the kick. After all, he still had the courage to face the predicament in front of him. What he was afraid of was the uncertain future. At least Director Wang had promised that he would not abandon them when the federal rescue arrived. Otherwise, this spear would have stabbed the fat man to death. But who can blame him for the fact that there is only one person in the entire hotel who has connections? He has someone above him. The one next door to Mela. Lin Qi stood in front of the window and looked at the scene outside. There were only 4 zombies wandering on the street, and there were 8 survivors. But the only ones who were really in the front were the honest young man who was kicked and a strong man in a security uniform. The remaining 6 people even held hangers, wooden boards, and fruit knives in their hands. They were all timid and did not dare to move forward. When they come back, we will be in trouble. Lin Qi took a deep breath. In his memory, the fat man was a small leader. He was one of the people in the front before. The honest young man took over his position. There were several zombies lying on the street. Obviously, the two had killed several of them. When the virus broke out 2 days ago, he led the people on this floor to take the initiative to clear the virus-carrying zombies out of the hotel, so he gained some prestige, but it also caused Director Wang's dissatisfaction. Even if there will be no changes in the short term, after experiencing a dangerous situation, these people will accumulate some unreleased desires in their hearts. At that time, the only objects that can vent them are himself and Zhao Tuanchuan. The sober people are isolated, the weak are bullied, and the fallen will be in cahoots with each other. Perhaps it is the overlap of 2 lives that makes Lin Qi have a way of looking at things beyond himself, and he quickly analyzed the pros and cons. Brother Lin, why don't we leave secretly? Even if I die outside, I don't want to be by them. Thinking of what Director Wang said before, weak women are useless at all. It is better to let the main force to resist the zombies have some fun, strengthen their courage, and improve their fighting spirit. A chill in his heart. Director Wang had a good relationship with the Zhao family before, and he could even say that he watched her grow up. He didn't expect that in order to establish his own prestige, he would make her a bargaining chip to win over others. Zhao Tuanchuan did not think about resisting, but she was just a high school graduate after all. Her parents died of the virus, which made her isolated and helpless. Only after Lin Qi stood up for her did she feel a sense of security. But this kind of security could not last too long. In this situation, even if we leave, how far can we run, not to mention those people are still outside. Lin Qi calmly thought about how to deal with it. At this moment, most of the people in the hotel were outside, and he was not without a plan to break the situation. Chapter 2, Creating Zombies. Come on, follow me down. For some reason, after drinking half a bottle of spoiled milk, Lin Qi felt as if he was full of strength. The two walked out of the room one after the other, and met a young man. This guy is called Shuangdong, a very smart guy. He has always called Lin Qi Brother Lin before, but he was the most ruthless one before. Abandoning the weak group and joining the strong group is a very wise choice. Lin Qi. Haven't you already? Shuangdong saw Lin Qi walking out of the room, and a trace of panic appeared on his face. After all, Lin Qi's actions in the past 2 days were very special among ordinary people. He dared to kill zombies, which ordinary people could not do at all. They were too heavy before and accidentally killed Lin Qi. The fatal blow to the back of the head was still done by him. He wanted to sneak back while everyone was resisting the zombies outside. If there was a chance, He might be able to take the lead in advance and take the first blood of Zhao Tuan. A few minutes were enough for him to pull up his pants. Young people are full of energy and blood. It is really impossible to relieve it by relying on only left and right hands for 3 months. I have something to discuss with you. Lin Qi waved his hand, patted Shuangdong's shoulder, and put his arm around his back. Shuangdong looked panicked, his face was a little confused, and he didn't know why Lin Qi suddenly changed so much. But the next second, the arm on his shoulder suddenly tightened, strangled his neck directly, and turned suddenly. With a crisp sound, Shuangdong only felt the crisp sound transmitted into his mind, and his body collapsed uncontrollably. Lin Qi's body trembled slightly, slowly put Shuangdong's body down, took a deep breath, turned around and covered Zhao Tuanchuan's mouth. He just fell asleep, understand. Tuanchuan's eyes were full of fear, a warm feeling was transmitted to Lin Qi's palm, and his chest rose and fell violently for several times before slowly slowing down. Only after seeing Zhao Tuanchuan nod silently, Lin Qi let go of his hand. He dragged Shuangdong into a nearby room and searched for him. He found a dagger on him. The two went down the stairs and stopped at the corner. At this moment, there were already quite a few people in the hall, but facing the zombies outside, no one dared to go out. After killing someone, Lin Qi's heart was somewhat disturbed. After all, in the memory of this body, he had killed many zombies. In addition, the special feeling of the overlap of 2 lives made him feel as if he was out of the matter. Go back. Lin Qi whispered, slowly waving his hand to signal Zhao Tuanchuan to retreat. Originally, his plan was to see how many people were in the hall. If they all went to the street, he would have an opportunity to lock all these people out. After all, during the quarantine, a steel fence was reinforced outside the glass door of the hotel, leaving only a small door. But now the plan has changed. When returning to the 3rd floor, Lin Qi glanced at Shuangdong, who was pulled into the room by him. At this moment, his body had stopped twitching. There were several rooms in the hotel that were completely closed because the people inside had become zombies. Although the bodies had been cleared out, they had not been dealt with. Lin Qi's first thought was to turn Shuangdong into a zombie and then throw him into the hall on the 1st floor to create chaos from the inside. Although this method is very inhumane, it is the only option in the face of such a dilemma. When he pushed open the door, a foul smell came to his nose. Lin Qi endured the stench and searched the room, and found a bloody towel. Although the blood on it had dried and turned black, the power of the virus should not be underestimated. Picking up the hanger on the ground and picking out the towel, Lin Qi signaled Zhao Tuanchuan to guard the stairs. The dagger was inserted into Shuangdong's mouth and cut a few times, and Lin Qi stuffed a brown towel into his mouth. After being scratched or bitten by zombies, the speed of mutation is not the same. The lower body is the slowest to be injured, but if it is above the neck and hands, it only takes a few minutes for the virus to invade the brain and completely transform into a zombie, and it is still a relatively powerful one. Lin Qi dragged Shuangdong's body to the entrance of the corridor. In less than 2 minutes, black lines had spread on Shuangdong's face, and his skin turned white at a speed visible to the naked eye. The corpse was placed in the corner of the corridor. Fortunately, the noise was not noticed by the people in the hall, but Lin Qi still felt unsafe. So he returned to the 2nd floor and, with the help of Tuan, lifted a table from the guest room and blocked the entrance of the corridor. 5 minutes later, Shuangdong, who was lying at the corner of the stairs, twitched and slowly stood up. He seemed to sense the breath of prey and opened his bloody mouth. The brown towel fell to the ground. The survivors infected by the zombies had not been rotten by flesh and blood. When they just mutated, they had extremely strong attack power. He stumbled down the stairs. Before the survivors in the hall could react, one of them was hugged by the neck and bitten wildly. Zombies. There are zombies. The hall was in a panic. Because the zombies were just at the entrance of the stairs, the remaining people rushed to the door of the hotel, begging the men with fighting power outside to help. In just a moment, except for the unlucky guy who was bitten, the rest of the people ran out. Don't panic. There's only one zombie. Let's go together and kill him. Director Wang's shouting sounded outside. At this moment, he didn't care whether he would alarm the zombies nearby. After all, zombies appeared in the safe shelter, and anyone would panic. But although he shouted loudly, his body quickly retreated and didn't dare to move forward. Although Shuangdong's head was twisted off by Lin Qi, he became even more weird after becoming a zombie. The head was tilted, and the mouth opened by Lin Qi was larger and more ferocious than that of ordinary zombies. He roared and rushed towards the door. Lin Qi had been hiding at the stairs to observe. After seeing the zombies chasing out, he quickly went downstairs, rushed to the iron door, closed the iron door directly, buckled the bolt, and hung the iron lock, all in one go. For a while, everyone was driven to the street. After the iron door was closed, these people became even crazier. Damn it! He closed the door. The person closest to him finally screamed, no longer caring about facing the zombies, and was the first to run to the door and push it hard. But the bolt was locked, and with the sofa blocking it, he couldn't push it even a little bit with his strength. At this moment, everyone outside rushed over, and in an instant, only the security guard was left. Facing a group of zombies, he was instantly in danger. Open the door quickly. Lin Qi. How dare you lock us out? You are killing people. You are committing a crime. Director Wang shouted harshly, the fat on his face trembling, and he stretched out his hand from the gap in the iron door, ready to pull the bolt open. As soon as the fat claws stretched out, Lin Qi kicked it. 3 fingers bent strangely, and a piece of flesh was torn off. Ah! My hand! Director Wang screamed, and when he pulled his hand back, a finger just fell to the ground. Damn it! Don't step on my finger. At this moment, he was still thinking about finding his finger and finding a way to connect it. Chapter 3 Special Skills. But the panic and the only way out made these people not notice his curses at all. They just wanted to push open the iron gate and rush into the safe hotel. The only security guard who was resisting the zombies also retreated again and again. The noise caused by the noise caused more and more zombies to appear on the street. At this moment, more than a dozen of them slowly appeared on the street. Damn it! I don't care about you. The security guard cursed and turned to run away. As long as he hid in other places, he could still guarantee his life safety, but if he stayed here, he would die. Lin Qi, open the door quickly. From now on, you will be the boss of the hotel. We will listen to you. Open the door quickly. The zombies are coming. Although the 2 zombies behind him moved slowly, they were getting closer and closer to the door without anyone blocking them. Especially the bloody smell on Director Wang's hands made the zombies more agitated. Lin Qi. I order you to open the door quickly. Director Wang looked at Lin Qi with resentment and spoke in an official tone again. This way of speaking was always successful in the past and could intimidate others invisibly. I advise you to run quickly. The fat man's hand is bleeding, which will attract a large number of zombies. If you are late, you will all die here. The sound of the door shaking has attracted the attention of the zombies nearby. If they are ignored, even if these people cannot break through the iron door, they will attract zombies from several streets. If there are mutant zombies at that time, it will be even more troublesome. Sure enough, after hearing Lin Qi's words, some of them reacted immediately, looked back at the zombies that were getting closer and closer, and turned to flee far away. Although the other rooms on the street have been searched and there are no supplies for survival, it is much better than being piled in front of the hotel and being bitten by zombies. In an instant, the entrance of the hotel was empty, leaving only Director Wang picking up the dirty fingers that were stepped on, still cursing. Suddenly, a dirty hand was placed on his shoulder, and the rotten head poked out and bit his neck. Help! Help! Save me! Perhaps his trachea was bitten, which made his voice hoarse. Several more zombies rushed up from behind, and directly pressed him to the ground and began to bite him. After a moment, only his body was twitching slightly. Outside the door, the sound of zombies biting flesh was clearly audible. The sound of skin tearing and gnawing on brittle bones made people's hair stand on end. Lin Qi resisted the churning in his stomach, and in an instant, cold sweat broke out all over his body. He sat on the ground with the wall, breathing heavily. Under the tense state of mind, he didn't feel anything, but when he relaxed at this time, all the symptoms appeared. The cold sweat on his forehead dripped down his cheeks, and his trance slowly recovered. The sound of zombies biting flesh outside the iron gate continued, and even a foul smell gradually spread to the hall. Lin Qi glanced at Zhao Tuanchun beside him and found that the girl was not as panicked as he imagined. Instead, she looked calm and vigilantly at the man who was bitten to death in the hall. Aren't you afraid? Surprised, Lin Qi couldn't help asking. Zhao Tuanchun shook her head subconsciously, but soon nodded. I'm more afraid of them than zombies. Following her gaze, Lin Qi remembered that there was a corpse on the ground that had not been dealt with, so he forced himself to stand up, took out the dagger and walked over. The same throat was bitten, and under normal circumstances, he would not die so quickly, but the raging of the virus would make people lose consciousness quickly. When he regains consciousness, he will become a special zombie. At this time, the only way to completely solve the problem is to go forward and destroy his head. Lin Qi went forward and took a look. The unlucky guy died miserably. Most of his neck was bitten off, and even his trachea was exposed. At this moment, black silk had spread on his face. It would not be long before he would become a zombie. So he adjusted a suitable posture, held the dagger with his backhand, aimed at the top of the corpse's head, and stabbed it directly. At this moment, the corpse on the ground suddenly opened his white eyes, roared from his mouth, and was completely motionless. Fortunately, otherwise it would have turned into a zombie later. Lin Qi breathed a sigh of relief. He had just seen zombies in this state. One person could chase and bite more than a dozen people. If he was allowed to completely mutate, he would definitely not be able to defeat him without a suitable weapon. Just as Lin Qi was about to pull out the dagger, he suddenly saw a phantom in front of his eyes, which made him subconsciously think that he was dizzy again. But the phantom feeling disappeared instantly, and was replaced by a transparent light curtain. Kill zombies with a dagger and gain dagger mastery. Current skill can be advanced. Advanced conditions. 1. Swing the dagger 100 times. 2. Stab the target's vital points 10 times. Lin Qi tried to swing the dagger, and the condition of 100 times really became 1/100, which confirmed that what appeared in front of him was definitely not an illusion. Brother Lin, what's wrong with you? Zhao Tuanchuan looked at Lin Qi's strange behavior and became inexplicably worried. She only had this person to rely on now. If something happened, it would be difficult for her to survive by herself. From the time he woke up to now, Lin Qi gave her a completely different feeling, but the girl had a special guess in her heart. It's okay, I just feel that the dagger is more handy. Lin Qi had used the dagger to skin sheep and kill rabbits before, but this time he felt like he had been using it for many years. Unconsciously, the dagger rotated in his hand and became more and more skilled. Brother Lin, have you awakened too? Tuanchuan asked cautiously with a hint of expectation in his eyes. Awakened? Lin Qi paused subconsciously while waving the dagger. Could it be that this girl saw something wrong with him? You mean, you have already awakened? It was abnormal for her to appear in this doomsday world. Now that she had a golden finger, she didn't feel so strange when she learned that there was awakening. After all, people have mutated into zombies, and it is understandable that they have some other abilities. I don't know if it counts, but I can feel my body slowly changing recently. I read about human genes when I was in school, and I guess I have awakened some ability in my genes. Zhao Tuanchuan's eyes were full of confidence when she talked about this. Although she only graduated from high school, she knew a lot about human genetics because of her interest. Although she was not as good as those professionals, she could still distinguish simple changes. Then what did you awaken? Lin Qi looked at Zhao Tuanchuan curiously. Although she was calm, she did not have any special abilities. Hearing Lin Qi's question, Zhao Tuanchuan's eyes showed a little panic, and it seemed a little difficult to speak. Chapter 4 Lockpicking Mastery. From a genetic level, everyone's awakened abilities are different, but generally, there are obvious manifestations in this case. For example, if someone is good at running, his awakened gene must be related to speed. Zhao Tuanchuan changed the subject and prepared to teach Lin Qi some knowledge about genes. So, what are you good at? Lin Qi was still curious. Zhao Tuanchuan did not show any outstanding aspects at all. If there was anything, it should be that his mentality was different from that of ordinary people. This should be the change in mentality after awakening. I don't want to talk about it. Zhao Tuanchuan lowered his head, almost buried it in his chest. Okay, I won't ask any more. Go get some wood and boards and we'll seal the door. Most of the people in the hotel have fled to other places. Maybe they will come back here after the zombies outside disperse. The door must be sealed as soon as possible. Lin Qi inspected the surroundings, returned to the second floor to get some tools, dismantled some cabinets in the hall, and completely sealed the door. His own abnormality seemed to be completely different from the genetic awakening that Zhao Tuanchuan had said. After working, Lin Qi asked a few questions in an indirect way. Zhao Tuanchuan did not have that kind of illusory panel, and there was no prompt when he touched the weapon. I think this method of mastering weapons should be unique to him. The second floor is the usual gathering place for survivors and the place where supplies are distributed. When they were isolated, the hotel had a lot of supplies. Later, the Federation also sent a lot, but after 3 months of consumption, these supplies were only a few. Lin Qi searched the entire second floor and only found half a bag of rice and a small bag of flour. As for vegetables and meat, everyone hasn't seen them for nearly a month. After arriving on the third floor, Zhao Tuanchuan had collected some supplies, which were all looted from Director Wang's room. They claimed that there was not much food left, but there was a lot of food in Director Wang's room alone. Moreover, in Shangdong's room, Lin Qi found the spear he had made before. This spear was the pole that Lin Qi removed from a large parasol. He used it very well. The tip of the spear was tied with a steel bar with iron wire. The tip was beveled. Although it was not sharp, it could easily pierce the zombie's head with force. Lin Qi tried to stab it, but there was no prompt. He roughly guessed that it was because there was no target. Not long after, the two collected all the supplies in the hotel, and unknowingly piled up half of the room. That fatty Wang kept saying that the supplies were exhausted, but I didn't expect them to hide so much, Zhao Tuanchuan said indignantly. She hadn't eaten much in the past few days, so her physical strength was consumed too much. Everyone is selfish. Didn't you hide half a bottle of milk? Lin Qi didn't care. He remembered that he also had hidden food, but now he was too lazy to take it. Zhao Tuanchuan was stagnant when he heard it. He wanted to refute but couldn't say anything. We can't stay here. Although it can keep out zombies, it can't keep people in. Help me move these things downstairs later, and we'll leave through the back door. The back door of the hotel had been blocked before, but that kind of lock can only keep out zombies, and Lin Qi has a way to open it. Where are we going? Zhao Tuanchuan agreed with Lin Qi's decision, but he didn't have an idea for a while, and didn't know where to go. It doesn't have to be too far, just a nearby residential area, and it's best if there's a gas stove or something at home. The city is now in a state of water and power outages, but most families have the habit of storing water, so it's not scarce, and the water sources in natural waters are not very harmful to people who have healed themselves. After the two carried some of the supplies downstairs, Lin Qi took out the tools and prepared to pry open the lock of the back door. This kind of door lock is the simplest padlock. Although Lin Qi doesn't have a key, it only takes a piece of wire for him to open this kind of lock. After folding the wire in half and adjusting the width to fit, he inserted it into the lock core little by little. After inserting it to the deepest part, Lin Qi gently twisted it a few times, and heard a click. Use tools to open the door lock and gain mastery of unlocking. Current skill can be advanced. Advanced conditions. 1. Use tools to unlock the lock 10 times. Is this okay? Lin Qi locked the lock again and opened it with the wire again. 10 times became 9 times. After opening it 10 times in a row, Zhao Tuanchuan looked at Lin Qi with a different look. Brother Lin, what are you doing? It's just a lock, and you keep poking it. Is it hinting at something? Although Zhao Tuanchuan is a 3-good student and an excellent class leader, he has been surfing the internet for many years and has been exposed to some unknown culture. After thinking about it, his face gradually became ruddy. I'll try to see if this lock is easy to open, so that I won't encounter the same lock in the future without experience. Lin Qi made up an excuse casually. At this moment, the illusory light curtain in front of him has been updated again. Use tools to unlock 10 times. Completed. Can unlock any type of lock in the world. Lock picking mastery. Advanced conditions. 1. Open 100 different locks cumulatively. I can actually advance further. At this stage, I can already unlock all the locks in the world. If I continue to advance, what else can I unlock? Pushing the door open, Lin Qi carefully looked outside. At this moment, the sky was a little dim, and the zombies that hid during the day gradually began to become active. However, the zombies near the hotel had been cleared once, and there might be some left nearby, but not many. You wait here, I'll go out and explore the way first. There were no zombies in sight. As long as you pass the street through the back door, there is a residential area opposite. Because of the centralized quarantine at the beginning, most of the people infected with the virus were sent to the nearest ARC hospital. It can be said that the residential area is empty. Lin Qi carefully crossed the street with a spear in hand. When he arrived at the residential area opposite, he happened to see a zombie slowly wandering in the iron gate. So he raised his spear and placed it on the iron gate. When the zombies sensed movement and approached, he stabbed them hard in the head. Puff. This was an old zombie, with a hunched body and wearing dirty pajamas. It was thought that he had lost his ability to move when he was alive, but he didn't expect that he could move again after becoming a zombie. Lin Qi pulled hard and pulled the spear out of the zombie's eye socket. Sticky blood and brain matter slowly flowed out. The next moment, the illusory panel appeared in front of him again. Kill zombies with this spear and gain basic gun skills. The current skill can be advanced. Advanced conditions. 1. Hold the gun for 3 hours. 2. Kill 10 targets with a spear. Sure enough. Lin Qi calmly retracted the spear and shook off the mucus on it. As long as he used tools or weapons, he could activate the attached skills. There was no time to study the changes afterwards. He quickly took out a wire, inserted it into the door lock, and twisted it gently. With a light click, the door lock popped open, and the iron door automatically opened a gap. It's really simple. Looking at the prompt of unlocking +1, Lin Qi couldn't help but sigh. The lock of this iron door is not the simple padlock just now. It has a relatively high degree of anti-theft, but it still can't withstand a piece of wire and directly pierces the security film. The nearby residential areas are all old buildings, most of which are 3-story squares. There are only 3-unit buildings in this small courtyard. Lin Qi chose the nearest one, opened another lock, and entered the stairs. Chapter 5. Where did she get the milk? There were 4 households on the first floor, but the doors were all closed. Lin Qi did not open them, but went up the stairs to the second floor. After searching through the floors, he found that all the doors were locked, which made him relax a little. He was afraid that some of the doors were opened, which would prove that someone had been here, or there might be zombies inside. Even so, Lin Qi did not take it lightly, but found a room with an anti-theft door on the second floor and stopped in front of the door to observe carefully for a moment. The door lock was a handle lock. Lin Qi inserted the wire into the keyhole and twisted it gently. With a click, the door was opened. He pushed the door open carefully. The room had good lighting and looked bright. The floor was clean and tidy. There was a plate of rotten fruit on the table in the living room. This is the one. All the signs showed that there was no one living in this house, but Lin Qi still carefully searched all the rooms. This is a standard apartment with 3 bedrooms and 1 living room, with an area of about 100 square meters. There are some supplies piled up in the corner of the kitchen, and there are 3 barrels of purified water in the living room. However, the refrigerator has been powered off for a long time. As soon as Lin Qi opened a gap, he smelled a foul odor. There is an induction cooker and a gas stove in the kitchen. After turning it on and trying it, there is still a lot of gas, so he took out a cigarette he had just collected from the study, lit it, and took a deep breath. Compared with daily necessities, these spiritual supplements are not necessary, but they can temporarily relieve people's psychological pressure. After smoking a cigarette, Lin Qi did not dare to delay, and quickly closed the door and went downstairs. After leaving the corridor, the sky outside had dimmed. It was late autumn at this time, and the temperature was more than 20 degrees during the day, but at night, the temperature would drop sharply, all the way down to about 5 degrees. Crossing the street, a few zombies could be seen wandering here in the distance. Lin Qi could not help but speed up his pace and ran towards the back door of the hotel. Just before she could shout at the door, Zhao Tuanchuan had already opened it. The sweat on her forehead had wet her hair and stuck to her cheeks, with a hint of blush. "Brother Lin, I have moved all the supplies down from upstairs." Zhao Tuanchuan wiped the sweat from her eyes. She was not like an ordinary girl who only knew how to hide in the corner and cry. She just wanted to play her due value. "Well done, you don't need to bring too much tonight. It's not too late to take it tomorrow when you have time." Half of the things in the house could not be moved in 1 or 2 trips. I'm afraid this girl ran back and forth more than 10 times and didn't rest for long. Lin Qi only picked up a few things, and the 2 of them went out the back door, one after the other, ready to cross the street. At this moment, the zombies in the distance of the street were getting closer and closer, but fortunately, they were the earliest infected zombies, moving slowly and not threatening much. The 2 of them crossed the street smoothly, entered the iron gate, locked the door tightly, and trotted all the way to the second floor. After closing the door, the room suddenly became dark, and Zhao Tuanchuan collapsed directly on the sofa, gasping for breath. Although she had awakened in some aspects, such physical exertion almost made her unable to recover. The chest rose and fell with breathing, and suddenly with a bang, the tightly buttoned collar broke directly, and a hole flew onto Lin Qi. "Plotting against me." Lin Qi couldn't help but joked. He didn't know how Zhao Tuanchuan's body developed. Under the condition of malnutrition, it seemed to be one size larger than before. "Brother Lin, I'll go back to my room to rest first." Zhao Tuanchuan's face flushed, and he quickly got up and ran to a bedroom. When he entered the room, he closed the door directly. After all, she is a little girl, she can't stand being teased. Lin Qi completely relaxed at this time, but thinking of having a good sleep, he had to wash up. The water in the bathroom had been stopped for a long time, but the 3 buckets of purified water in the living room could be saved for daily washing. Lin Qi found slippers and the male host's clean clothes, and found a few sets of unopened underwear in the closet. He picked up a bucket of purified water and walked towards the bathroom. Supplies should be used to their full potential. Instead of saving and making yourself uncomfortable, it is better to adjust your body to the best condition to face the danger outside. More than 20 minutes later, Lin Qi walked out of the bathroom. Although it was dark and he couldn't see clearly, after using a bucket of water, he still washed his body. The living room was already very dark, but after adapting to the darkness, he could see a little more clearly. Lin Qi sat on the sofa, dried his hair, and lit a cigarette. Under the flickering light of the fire, there was finally some light in the room. At this time, Zhao Tuanchuan walked out of the room and came to Lin Qi with his hands behind his back. "There are 2 buckets of water. You can take one to the bathroom to wash and have a good sleep tonight." Lin Qi didn't look up. Although he couldn't see anything clearly, the girl was more reserved after all, so he gave her some face. "Drink this." Zhao Tuanchuan moved his hands behind his back to the front and handed them to Lin Qi. "What is it?" Lin Qi moved the spark in his hand a little, and then he could see clearly what Zhao Tuanchuan was holding, the familiar white bottle. Milk. I had half a bottle, thank you for saving me today." In the dark, Zhao Tuanchuan's expression could not be seen clearly, but Lin Qi always felt something was strange. Her voice was hesitant, as if she was a little embarrassed. "It's not expired, why don't you drink it? It's just half a bottle of milk, and you use it to thank yourself? Wouldn't it be the same if you change it to something else?" "What's expired?" "It's fresh. I'm lactose intolerant and can't drink milk." Zhao Tuanchuan put the bottle in her hand on the table, picked up a bucket of water and walked towards the bedroom. There was a small bathroom in the bedroom she chose, so she didn't need to come out again. Lactose intolerance, delicate. It's the end of the world, who still indulges this kind of problem? When you are really about to starve to death, even if the milk is poisoned, I'm afraid there will be people who are willing to swallow it in one gulp. Lin Qi happened to be a little thirsty, adhering to the principle of not wasting, picked up the cup and took a sip. Warm. After taking a sip, it was sweet with a hint of fishy smell, but for some reason, Lin Qi didn't dislike this taste. What brand of milk is this? In both memories, he had never drunk such sweet milk. It was like a warm current that slowly penetrated into his stomach, making the original hunger disappear instantly, and even the whole person was more energetic. Lin Qi picked up the milk and drank it all in one gulp, with endless aftertaste. After finishing a cigarette, Lin Qi walked towards the second bedroom. He felt relaxed, but he couldn't fall asleep when he lay on the bed. This night was his first night since the end of the world. He was not scared, but exceptionally quiet. No. Where did she get the milk from? An hour later, Lin Qi suddenly opened his eyes, still unable to figure it out. Chapter 6, Beauty is a Feast for the Eyes. The next morning, the noise outside woke Lin Qi up. After a night of deep sleep, the 2 memories in his mind finally merged together. After the consciousness dominated by Lin Qi merged with a memory of this parallel space, Lin Qi's spirit felt much more spacious. Even the previous neurological tinnitus disappeared completely. Awake so early. Opening the door, he vaguely saw the busy figures in the kitchen. Lin Qi stretched out on the sofa. "Brother Lin, why don't you have any sense of crisis? I've almost made breakfast, and you just woke up." Zhao Tuanchuan's voice came out, with a warning. "It's rare to have a good place to rest, and you are here." Lin Qi said indifferently. This was his first day in this doomsday world. Subjective consciousness occupied most of his thoughts. It was normal to have no sense of crisis. But as he gradually adapted, he would always change in the future. Not long after, Zhao Tuanchuan brought out 2 bowls of rice porridge, a plate of pickles, and a few pancakes. A good cook cannot make a meal without rice, let alone Zhao Tuanchuan, who is only 18 years old. It is already very good to make these breakfasts with simple ingredients. However, This is the most sumptuous breakfast in a month. Today, Zhao Tuanchuan just tied a simple ponytail. Her clean face looked particularly white. She was wearing the clothes of the hostess of the house, a sportswear, and an apron, which was bulging high. It is impossible not to say that it is heartwarming, so much so that Lin Qi ate a large piece of cake. It is really a feast for the eyes. After breakfast, neither of them deliberately mentioned the zombies outside, but Lin Qi still took out all his equipment and sorted it out in the living room. The dagger would not cause much damage to the zombies, but Lin Qi still brought it with him. There were some traces of bending on the top of the spear. After all, it was just an ordinary umbrella pole. It would not last long if used as a gun pole. Lin Qi reinforced a joint of the steel bar, tried to swing it, adjusted the center of gravity, and then took back the tool. "Brother Lin, do you want to go out?" Zhao Tuanchuan had been watching from the side, not interrupting him from beginning to end, until Lin Qi stood up. "We don't have much water left. I'll go next door to see if there are any supplies. By the way, I'll clean up the zombies on the surrounding streets and bring back all the supplies in the hotel." Although the panic brought by the advent of the doomsday will put ordinary people in a desperate situation, as long as the federal government controls the overall situation, it will surely radiate to small cities slowly. With the strength of the Federation, it will soon be able to clear out areas suitable for human survival. What's more, the awakening that Zhao Tuanchuan mentioned seems to have a deeper secret. In his current state, he didn't know whether he had awakened the power of the genetic level, but Lin Qi always felt that his perfunctory skill advancement was different from what Zhao Tuanchuan said. He must try his best to improve his own strength before the change comes, so that even if an awakener appears at that time, he will not appear too weak. So he took a look at the skills about the spear and completed the goal of killing 10 zombies first. After putting on simple protective gear, Lin Qi walked out of the room under the eyes of Zhao Tuanchuan. The main door of the building was locked, and the zombies outside could not get in. Lin Qi decided to start from the 3rd floor and search slowly. This old-style residential building has 4 households on each floor. The doors of the 3rd floor were all closed, which also showed that the whole building was isolated at that time. However, Lin Qi still adhered to the principle of courtesy. He knocked on the door first, and after confirming that there was no movement inside, he poked the door open. The vision was better during the day, and the general situation of the room could be seen at a glance, but Lin Qi still smelled a rotten smell and had to be careful to raise his spirits. After entering, he saw an iron cage in the corner of the living room. There was a dry puppy in it, sticking hard to the ground, and its fur had rotted, revealing its bones. Lin Qi poked it with a spear, and after confirming that the puppy was completely dry, he checked the other bedrooms. It should be that during the quarantine, the pets at home were not taken away, and they starved to death in the cage. Lin Qi searched the entire residential building for the whole morning, but did not move all the supplies back. As long as he was sure that the building was not dangerous, he could go and get the supplies at any time when he needed them. After a short rest after lunch at noon, Lin Qi set off again and explored a nearby residential building. Compared with moving the entire building to the Ark for isolation, some special cases will adopt a home isolation mode. At first, there were zombies wandering in this residential courtyard, which means that there must be people who were missed nearby. Opening an iron door again, Lin Qi subconsciously took a step back. There was a pool of black mucus on the ground, emitting a foul smell, and there were several broken bones and damaged clothes. It seemed to be a dismemberment scene. As the iron door opened, a rotten smell spread out at a speed visible to the naked eye, like a demon, emitting a wailing sound. The stairs were covered with bloodstains, and under the sunlight, they reflected a crystal red light. Lin Qi hesitated for a moment, not knowing whether to continue exploring. Forget it, the spear can't play a big advantage in the corridor. After thinking for a moment, Lin Qi decisively locked the door and turned to walk outside. Not long after he left, there was a sharp scratching sound behind the iron gate, as if a sharp weapon was cutting on the door. The door of another building was open, and Lin Qi kindly closed and locked the door, and then came to the iron gate of the compound. Compared with the unknown zombies in the building, those outside that move slowly are the easiest to deal with. There are still zombies wandering on the street, all of which are the kind of slow-moving rotten zombies. Lin Qi opened the door lock and walked towards the nearest zombie with a spear in hand. After obtaining the basic spearmanship, Lin Qi can judge the attack distance with his naked eyes, and he can raise his hand to stab, aiming at the left eye without stabbing the right eye. A shot broke through the air, and the spear steadily broke a residual image in the air. With a puff, a stream of dirty blood spurted out from the back of the zombie's head. Lin Qi took the opportunity to swing and threw the rotten zombie aside. Kill 1/10 targets. Seeing the progress, Lin Qi was full of energy. After killing a few zombies, he took the initiative to search on the street without waiting for those slow zombies to approach. At this time, on a nearby residential building, the curtains opened a gap, and a pair of eyes stared at Lin Qi's figure on the street. More than a dozen people escaped from the hotel. Although most of them were killed by zombies, there were still a few lucky ones who hid in a safe place. At this moment, seeing that Lin Qi dared to slaughter zombies on the street, they not only did not have a trace of regret in their hearts, but were full of resentment. Brother Liu, that kid is so brave that he dared to go to the street alone. They hid in this building yesterday and did not dare to go out. After discussing for a long time, they still did not decide on the position and deployment of the combat team. No one was willing to stand in the front. Chapter 7 Kill 10 Zombies. Brother Liu, why don't we go and join him? The people in front of the window saw Lin Qi stabbed another zombie to death, and they couldn't help but feel jealous. If there were such a powerful teammate in the Doomsday Crisis, the safety factor would at least be greatly guaranteed. Do you want to die? When he was excluded before, you were the one who shouted the most. Besides, Shangdong seems to be your relative. He turned into a zombie, maybe it was this guy who did it. Liu Bo was the security guard before. After Director Wang died, he repented. The people who fled with him now have him as the leader. Although there are no supplies at this time, the feeling of being supported by everyone has already made him a little intoxicated. If they go to join Lin Qi at this time, even if the other party does not hold a grudge, who will have the final say? The ninth one. Lin Qi has already killed to the corner of the street. There are several rotting zombies lying on the ground behind him. At this moment, he relies on several cars as cover. After luring the zombies over, he can easily kill the zombies with the help of the terrain. Moreover, while killing zombies, Lin Qi also moved all the supplies at the back door of the hotel to the residential courtyard. If I kill one more, I will be halfway through the advancement requirements. This combat skill is most suitable for killing zombies, and the attack distance is far enough. If it is advanced, it will greatly enhance Lin Qi's strength. After checking the sturdiness of the spear again, Lin Qi locked his eyes on a zombie in the distance. Huh? It looks familiar. When the zombie approached, he could see clearly that it was Director Wang who was bitten to death yesterday. Director Wang's clothes were torn into strips at this moment, and there were a lot of bite marks on his body. One of his legs was torn to the bone, and there was even a big hole in his stomach. As he moved slowly, a fat intestine was pulled on the ground, like a rope. His movement speed was faster than that of ordinary zombies, but before he took a few steps, his intestines got hung on an obstacle, causing him to stagger and almost fall to the ground. While Director Wang's movements were restricted, Lin Qi stepped forward quickly, and with the momentum of jogging, he thrust the spear forward. Catcha! With a crisp sound, the top of the spear broke directly, and the steel bar head just got stuck in the zombie's mouth, with only a sharp tip poking in. This attack made the zombie completely furious. The infected zombies were different from the previous virus zombies. The muscles on their bodies were still active. Under the control of the virus, they could burst out 2 to 3 times the strength of ordinary people. Director Wang's zombie slapped over and slapped on the umbrella pole, which immediately made Lin Qi feel his hands tremble, and his wrists hurt, and he almost dropped the spear in his hand. Such a strong force. Lin Qi subconsciously stepped back a few steps, and after returning to a car, he prepared to use the car to block it. The spear lost its sharp spikes, and the damage it could cause to the zombies was minimal. If he didn't think of a way, he was afraid that if he wanted to complete the last goal, he would have to make another choice. Director Wang had a steel bar stuck in his mouth, which had been poked all the way to his throat, so his roar was extremely hoarse, and even streams of red mucus flowed out. But the desire for fresh flesh and blood made the virus in his mind completely irritable. Under the influence of the virus, his body trembled violently and burst out with all his strength. The intestines wrapped around the ground were directly torn off, and it dragged a broken leg and limped towards Lin Qi. Even so, Director Wang's speed was much faster than that of ordinary zombies. If the virus body zombies were the slow-moving type in The Walking Dead, this infected zombie would be the zombie in Resident Evil, and even have the ability to run when attacking. It is not ruled out that there will be the possibility of evolution in the future. Lin Qi circled the car twice, and tried to attack a few times with a broken spear in his hand. Even if it hit the zombie's head, it would not cause much hindrance to his movement. Even if this kind of zombie was broken, it would still be extremely fierce, unless the control center in his head was destroyed. Lin Qi held up the umbrella pole and jumped directly onto the roof of the car. After chasing, he found that although the zombies moved faster, their body flexibility was very poor and they could not climb or jump at all. Director Wang, who was close at hand, kept slapping the car with both hands, leaving bloody handprints on the smooth body of the car. His nails had grown sharp in just one day, leaving scratches on the paint of the car. Close at hand, the zombie looked up and glared at Lin Qi again, just opening his mouth to reveal the half of the steel bar head. Good opportunity. Lin Qi held the umbrella pole in his hand, poked the half of the steel bar head accurately, and then suddenly poked it in. Puff! With a heavy force of downward pressure, the steel bar head was directly pushed out by the umbrella pole, popped out from the back of the zombie's head, and fell to the ground with a clang. The zombie's struggling movement slowly stopped, and he collapsed on the car powerlessly and slid to the ground. The fat body trembled a few times and then there was no movement. Lin Qi only felt his hands were sore. Killing this infected zombie was more tiring than killing the 9 virus bodies before. Fortunately, he had finished killing 10 zombies at this moment. After returning, he would improve his basic gun skills. It would be much easier to meet the same zombies again. He jumped out of the car, found a broken plastic bag to wrap the steel bar head, and ran quickly towards his residence. It was almost dusk at this moment, but this sense of contrast of silence not only did not make the dusk seem more relaxing, but became more urgent. When he came to the iron gate, Lin Qi quickly took out the wire to unlock the door, and only completely relaxed when he entered the family compound. A tense and exciting psychological gap made his heart beat violently, and his forehead was unconsciously covered with sweat. Sitting under several landscape trees in the yard, Lin Qi rested for a long time before calming down his excitement. The landscape trees in the garden were very dense, with sharp thorns on the green branches and leaves, and the red fruits were like lychees, but much smaller. Zeshu. Lin Qi suddenly remembered that he had picked this kind of fruit to make wine, and the fruit tasted pretty good. So he reached out and picked 2, blew off the dust on them, and stuffed them directly into his mouth. He hadn't eaten fresh fruit for many days, and this wild fruit just happened to supplement some nutrition. And the zeshu tree has more than just this function. This kind of wood is an excellent material for making bows and arrows in ancient times. If it were in the past, he would never pay so much attention to it, but now he has a golden finger that can gain skills by using tools. If he has a handy bow and arrow, he doesn't even have to get close to zombies in the future. A long-range arrow can easily penetrate the zombie's skull with the power of the bow and arrow. Although the trunk of this zeshu tree is a bit bent, it is long enough and just the thickness of an arm. With such a diameter, as long as it is slightly processed, it can be made into a longbow, which is enough to use for a period of time. After picking a handful of fruits and putting them in his pocket, Lin Qi stood up and walked to the second floor. In fact, when he returned to the courtyard, Zhao Tuanchuan, who was standing in front of the second floor window, had already noticed it. When Lin Qi's footsteps approached, she opened the door and took the initiative to greet him. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 8. Who says you can't kill someone without a gun? I see you've been sitting in the yard for so long. Are you too tired? Zhao Tuanchuan was about to take the plastic bag from Lin Qi's hand, but was dodged. After all, the steel bar head was still stained with a lot of zombie blood and brain matter. If he cut his finger, no one could save him at this stage. I have a lot of corpse odor on me. Let's go outside to get some air. This bag is full of zombie blood. Don't get your hands sticky. Lin Qi put the bag at the door. He had searched it in the morning, and the next room was also very safe. When he repaired the rifle or made weapons later, he could do it next door. It took several more trips to move all the supplies downstairs into the room, and then he finished the day's work. Lin Qi carefully washed off the bloodstains on his body. Even though he took all kinds of protection, he still didn't dare to gamble on those unknowns. Brother Lin, don't go outside in the future. It's too dangerous. We just need to wait for the federal rescue to arrive, and we should be safe. A few days ago, when the power was not cut off, the federal government announced a regional rescue plan. In just a few days, the search team sent by the federal government will arrive in the city. At that time, the survivors left in the city will be able to evacuate smoothly to the nearby quarantine area. It's better to trust yourself than to trust others. Whether the search and rescue team can come is still a question. Lin Qi took out the mulberry fruit from his pocket, put it on the table, and began to pack up the broken weapons. After being used many times, the umbrella pole has several cracks, especially the gun head. After breaking, a crack appeared, which has been spreading for more than 10 centimeters. In other words, if it is repaired, it must be cut off. At that time, the advantage of the long gun will be gone. So with a thought, the illusory panel unfolded in front of him. The task of killing 10 targets has been completed, and the task of holding the gun for 3 hours has also been completed for the most part. After all, Lin Qi was in a state of preparing to hold the gun most of the time outside today, which invisibly reduced the progress of the task. In about half an hour, the basic gun technique can be advanced. After the lock-picking skill is advanced, it can open all the door locks on the market, which makes Lin Qi feel a little outrageous. I wonder what this basic gun technique will become after the advancement. While Zhao Tuanxuan was cooking, Lin Qi came to the balcony with a broken gun, maintaining a posture of slowly improving the progress. "Brother Lin, it's time to eat." Zhao Tuanxuan brought out 2 large bowls of rice, a pot of seaweed egg drop soup, and a plate of scrambled eggs. Although there were no vegetables and meat, the nutrition was enough. "Wait for me 10 minutes. Lin Qi responded, and seeing the countdown of 10 minutes, he decided to wait a little longer. Oh. Zhao Tuanxuan did not urge him. After wiping his hands, he took off his apron, sat on the sofa for a while, and got up and walked towards his bedroom. 10 minutes later, Lin Qi put down the broken gun in his hand, looked at the refreshed new panel, and was speechless for a long time. Basic gun technique advanced, advanced gun technique. Who said you can't kill someone without a spearhead? When you don't have a spearhead, you have an indestructible spearhead by default. Special skill, dragon throws the universe to break. Advanced to high-level spearmanship, advanced conditions. 1. Kill 100 targets with a spear. 2. Kill 3 mutant creatures. 3. Obtain 3 gene crystals. Looking at the 3 advanced conditions, Lin Qi frowned slightly. Mutated creatures, gene crystals, I haven't even heard of these things. At this time, Lin Qi couldn't help but think of the genetic evolution theory mentioned by Zhao Tuanxuan. Maybe she really analyzed the key points. At this moment, holding the spear in his hand again, Lin Qi felt an inexplicable force passing into his hand, as if he had mastered the way and had 10 years of hard work. The special skills described in the high-level spearmanship seemed to be imprinted in his mind and could be used at any time. And the broken spearhead part had a faint feeling of extending the breath, as if it was an illusory spearhead. Lin Qi held the gun and slashed it against the wall. Although it did not touch the wall, a deep mark visible to the naked eye appeared. The most important thing is that he did not feel any resistance at all. This? What a magical skill. Before Lin Qi could continue to try, Zhao Tuanxuan came out of the bedroom. "Brother Lin, let's eat quickly." There was a faint trace of sweat on her forehead and her cheeks were slightly red. "Okay, let's eat first." Lin Qi was about to ask Zhao Tuanxuan some questions about genetic evolution. He put the gun barrel in the corner of the balcony, washed his hands, and sat at the dining table. The steamed rice was very soft in glutinous, but a little cold. With the fragrant and salty scrambled eggs, Lin Qi quickly ate half a bowl. When he was about to serve a bowl of seaweed egg drop soup, Zhao Tuanxuan took out the white bottle from behind. "Brother Lin, drink this." It was exactly the same bottle, but there was a lot more milk in it than yesterday, and it was almost full. "Where did you get the milk?" Lin Qi looked at Zhao Tuanxuan with a serious face. When he entered this room yesterday, he also searched roughly. Everything in the refrigerator was smelly, and there was no milk at all. He subconsciously glanced at her bulging clothes, and felt that it seemed impossible. No matter how big it was, it shouldn't be raining at this time. "I brought it back from the hotel. I kept it on my body yesterday. You should drink it quickly." Zhao Tuanxuan pretended to be calm and poured herself a bowl of egg drop soup. She drank it in small sips, but when she saw that Lin Qi didn't move at all, she looked up carefully and lowered her head quickly. "How many bottles did you hide?" This bottle was opened, and the color of the milk was a little darker than usual, but Lin Qi could already smell the milky fragrance. No more, this is the last bottle. I thought that Brother Lin was going out to find supplies, so I kept it for you to replenish your body. Zhao Tuanchuan hurriedly explained. She didn't dare to say that she had a lot of it, otherwise Lin Qi asked her to take out another bottle, which she couldn't do in a short time. You've been hiding it for so long and you're reluctant to drink it. How about this, let's each have half. Lin Qi said as he picked up the bottle, poured half into his own bowl, and pushed the other half back. It still tasted the same, a little warm. After entering the mouth, a warm current slowly slid down the throat, and the stomach was warm. Although I don't know what brand of milk this is, the benefits and changes brought by drinking it are obvious. This is why Lin Qi knew that the origin of this thing was a little unclear, but he was still willing to drink it. I won't drink it. I will feel uncomfortable after drinking it. Zhao Tuanchuan's eyes showed a trace of anxiety. She quickly pushed the remaining half of the bottle over, muttering to herself. If I drink it myself, wouldn't it be humiliating myself? You're a nice person. Lin Qi didn't hesitate, picked up the bottle and drank it all, and even licked the drop on the bottle mouth clean. After seeing this, Zhao Tuanchuan's mind was full of reverie. When she squeezed it before, the bottle mouth was just aimed at it. Did it have indirect contact? For a moment, she became more and more flustered. Chapter 9. A small gun is still a gun. After dinner, without electricity or other entertainment, the long night was a bit difficult to endure. Lin Qi thought of the genetic problem at this time, so he asked Zhao Tuanchuan. Zhao Tuanchuan was immediately alert when it came to his major. He sat up straight and explained to Lin Qi from the simplest aspects. The human gene is very complex, consisting of 23 pairs of chromosomes. The dominant gene determines the growth of human beings in an ordinary life, but as the recessive gene slowly awakens, it will give birth to human beings with abilities beyond ordinary people. Throughout the ages, those special existences in history have become dragons and phoenixes among people after the recessive gene awakens, and they can leave a heavy mark in history. Zhao Tuanchuan realized that her gene awakening was a special change in her body, although she was also scared by such changes at the beginning. The two chatted until midnight, but Lin Qi did not hear the theory of gene lock from Zhao Tuanchuan. There seemed to be no such speculation in the memory of this body. It was long after dawn the next day when Lin Qi walked out of the room. After breakfast, he took the umbrella pole and the steel bar head and went to the next room. Both of these items were stained with the blood of zombies, and leaving them in the room was also a hidden danger. Fortunately, Lin Qi found a clothes drying rack on the balcony of the next room. It was made of stainless steel and was 1.8 meters long, which was much more convenient than the umbrella pole. With a blessing of high-level spearmanship, there was no need to consider whether the spearhead existed. After finding a handy kitchen knife in the kitchen, Lin Qi went downstairs, cut down the mulberry wood, trimmed the branches, and brought it back upstairs. Originally, if you want to make a bow, you must wait for the wood to dry naturally and prevent cracking, but Lin Qi can't wait that long now. For a whole day, Lin Qi was resting this branch, scraping the branch flat, and repairing it bit by bit along the grain. Finally, when it was dark, he got a rough bow embryo. Brother Lin, can you make bows and arrows? Zhao Tuanchuan had been curled up on the sofa, watching the branch change little by little in Lin Qi's hand, and finally recognized that it was a long bow. However, this bow was completely different from what she remembered. The shape was not good-looking, and the upper and lower bow pieces were not very symmetrical. Who would want to fight zombies in close combat if they can attack from a distance? When the bow is made, our safety factor will be raised to another level. Next, we only need to weave a bowstring and make a few arrows to try to see how powerful this bow is. Before that, Lin Qi did not plan to go out. After all, there was no need to go out and take risks when there was no shortage of food. He just had to wait for the federal search team to arrive here and follow the large force to the quarantine area. Next to the moat on the edge of the city, off-road vehicles stopped in front of a bridge. Several soldiers in protective clothing jumped off the cars and came to the bridge to observe. The bridge is full of cars, we can't pass through. Teams 1 and 2 abandon the vehicles and move forward on foot. Team 3 stays where they are, clear the cars on the bridge, and push them directly under the bridge. The leader looked to be in his early 40s, with a serious look on his face. After he quickly gave the order, he led 2 teams totaling 100 people and quickly crossed a bridge. Xiao Zhang, report the information of the urban area. As soon as they passed the bridge, a few zombies wandered over. The vibration frequency of the large-scale crossing of the bridge had already attracted the nearby zombies. Captain Gu, this city is planned as the 32nd district, which is a highly infected area with an area of 82 square kilometers and a permanent population of 500,000. At the beginning, 150,000 people were quarantined and transferred. Now 350,000 people are still in the urban area. According to the infection rate of virus zombies, the number of survivors is roughly 70,000, but after so many days, I don't know how many can survive. A three-dimensional projection flashed on Xiao Zhang's arm, presenting the information of the 32nd urban area, and at the same time shared it with others through the tactical channel. Use the cross plan, open up the cross line in the center of the city, use helicopters to notify the survivors in the city, gather in the nearest safe area, and evacuate steadily from the center cross line. Captain Gu analyzed it briefly and chose a plan. This is also the precious experience they have gained since the advent of the Doomsday. The so-called center cross line is to open up a main road leading to the east, west, south and north with the city center as the cross. The follow-up support team will quickly form a defense line, recruit survivors, and establish a temporary position to stop the virus body zombies. It can be said that it is easy. In addition to exploring the way first and locking the position of the center cross, their team's mission is to rescue important people. After crossing the bridge, the team moved forward steadily. When encountering small-scale zombies, the members can dodge with their swift speed. But when they can't dodge, they raise the special silencer rifle in their hands and clear the obstacles with a round of rapid bursts. Zhao Tuanchuan has a good craftsmanship. He used the powerful horsefish line found by Lin Qi to weave a bowstring of moderate thickness. After fixing it on the bow, it formed a crescent arc. Brother Lin, this bow is so ugly. The bow was only scraped and slightly repaired. The fresh tree trunk was stained with a lot of stains, looking black, and there were several uneven places. Don't look at it because it's ugly, it's very powerful. Lin Qi tried to pull it in the air, but with his strength, he couldn't pull the bow to the full. If he wanted to test the power, he needed to make a suitable arrow. When he was chopping trees before, he deliberately cut two long branches as thick as fingers, which was just right for trimming and making two arrows. What should I use for the arrowhead? If you want a bow and arrow to be lethal, the arrowhead is an indispensable thing, but this kind of material is generally difficult to find, and it cannot be made without the right tools. Lin Qi was a little embarrassed for a while, so he had to make the arrow shaft first, and finally tried to find some sharp objects to install on the arrowhead. After repairing it several times with a dagger, the branch did not reach perfect straightness, so there would definitely be a huge deviation when shooting it out. For a while, Lin Qi was a little frustrated. Sure enough, without experience, the things he made were all rubbish. It would be nice if it was like a gun, without the need for an arrowhead. After scraping off the last layer of bark, Lin Qi suddenly had an idea and trimmed the arrow shaft a little to make a smaller version of a spear. He held it in his hand and waved it a few times, and he really felt the illusory fluctuations at the tip of the spear. This works. His sudden idea actually came true. In this way, in the future, all he needs to make arrows is a straight shaft. The ability that comes with this high-level spearmanship is simply terrifying. Chapter 10. This is a bit harmful to your health. The bow was drawn and the wet bow made a creaking sound under the pressure. Lin Qi took a deep breath, pulled the longbow to the limit, and then let go. The arrow shot out with a whoosh. Zhao Tuanchuan, who was standing by, hugged her head tightly and huddled in the corner of the sofa, fearing that the arrow would bounce back and hide her forehead. But after the bowstring bounced, there was a snap, and the arrow made of twigs shot directly into the wall, and the tail of the arrow trembled slightly. Brother Lin, I remember you didn't install the arrowhead. Zhao Tuanchuan jumped off the sofa and went forward to pull out the arrow, but the arrow that shot into the wall for nearly 5 centimeters was quite firm. She was so embarrassed that her face turned red before she pulled the arrow out. Looking carefully, the arrow shaft was not damaged at all. I don't know why, I feel that my strength is getting stronger and stronger. Lin Qi was also quite shocked. He didn't expect that such a simple bow would have such power. Although there was a default arrow, it was a concrete wall after all, and it was able to shoot so much into it. If it was a zombie, it would probably go straight through without leaving any tail. Lin Qi couldn't put it down and played with a bow and arrow in his hand. He was eager to find a zombie to try it out. He didn't know what would happen if the bow and arrow skills were activated. "This is all my credit," Zhao Tuanchuan muttered softly, looking at Lin Qi's smiling face. A special light appeared in his eyes unconsciously. Just when Lin Qi wanted to go out, a whistle suddenly came from the window, like an air defense alarm, which lasted for a long time before dissipating. "Survivors, please note that the federal rescue has arrived. Please follow the social rules and evacuate to the central street on your own in 2 days. The federal support team will clear a safe passage to cover the survivors to evacuate the city." The voice in the sky was transmitted over and over again, from far to near, and then gradually faded away. You can even hear the roar of helicopter propellers flying not far away. "Rescue is coming." In his memory, the federal government is similar to the government agencies in Lin Qi's previous life, but it is more rigorous. This world has 4 major federations and 18 small countries. Since 1999, the world pattern has been cleansed, which seems to have diverged from the experience in Lin Qi's original memory and is increasingly different. The people have an inexplicable confidence in the Central Asian Federation. When they learned that rescue was about to arrive, they seemed to have been injected with a shot of cardiotonic. But the 2 people in the room were somewhat silent. Because of the dominant memory, Lin Qi did not have much sense of belonging to the Federation, but he did not have much resistance. After all, it was too difficult for a person to survive in the doomsday. After all, humans are social creatures. After all, most people cannot bear this loneliness for a long time isolated from the world. Zhao Tuanchuan was also uneasy. Compared with Lin Qi, who still had the confidence to deal with the occurrence of changes, she was full of fear for the future. If it was a normal genetic evolution, if it was known by the Federation, she might be reused, but she was different from ordinary people. If her ability was noticed by someone with ulterior motives, she would feel horrified to think about what she would become in the future. It is very likely that she will be trapped in a dark place, with her body fixed and high-protein nutrition consumed every day. 2 tubes connected to her body constantly absorbed her juice. Thinking of this, Zhao Tuanchuan shuddered suddenly. We are now quite far from the central street. We have to cross almost half of the city to reach the rescue area. Then we will follow the federal team to the nearest quarantine area. After learning that there will be mutant creatures in the future, Lin Qi's heart is always shrouded in a shadow. After all, the unknown nature of mutant creatures is too great, and if you want to know the theory of genetic evolution, you must have official news. There are still 2 days left. Let's get ready. You go and make the food into dry food. I will go outside to explore and find a safe road. Lin Qi did not notice Zhao Tuanchuan's nervousness and prepared himself. With his current strength, he can make a breakthrough in the zombie group, but he does not know how strong the unknown mutant creature is. Lin Qi cut down all the viewing trees in the yard, made a total of 30 arrows, and made a simple quiver. After breakfast that day, Lin Qi picked up his equipment and passed by the kitchen, ready to go out, when he glanced at it inadvertently. Although the kitchen door was closed, the gap also allowed Lin Qi to see the scene inside. Zhao Tuanchuan was seen bending over, lifting up her clothes and squeezing hard, and white liquid sprayed out like a shower and fell into a large bowl. That touch of soft white was very attractive. Lin Qi silently retreated, increased his pace, and walked through the living room again. "Brother Lin, wait." Zhao Tuanchuan hurriedly came out of the kitchen, holding a large bowl in both hands. "I heated up the milk for you, drink it." The bowl was full and almost overflowed. "Tuanchuan, you are hurting your body." At this time, how could Lin Qi not guess where the milk came from? Recalling the first time he saw Zhao Tuanchuan in his memory, her figure was not so outstanding. Although she had always worn loose clothes, her size was getting bigger and bigger. In addition to the genetic evolution theory she mentioned, the deliberately hidden information, and the repeated appearance of warm milk, Lin Qi had to associate it with certain aspects. "What do you mean by hurting your body? This is the milk I left for you. I have another bottle in my room. If you don't believe me, I'll show it to you." Zhao Tuanchuan blushed, stuffed the hot milk in her hand to Lin Qi, and then ran to the bedroom and took out the white bottle. The bottle mouth was tightly closed, and a full bottle of milk could be vaguely seen when shaking it. "Is that so? It seems that I misunderstood." Lin Qi picked up the bowl and drank it all. Under deliberate perception, the warm current rolled in his stomach and gradually spread to his limbs, which was more obvious than the previous times. "Give me this bottle too. I may not be back at noon. Take it with you as lunch." Lin Qi took the white bottle from Zhao Tuanchuan, stuffed it into his pocket, and then turned and walked out. Since Zhao Tuanxuan was unwilling to tell the truth, Lin Qi simply didn't make it clear. After all, this kind of thing was too embarrassing for an 18-year-old girl. Oh, what should I do next? He must have known. In the room, Zhao Tuanxuan lay on the sofa, his hands scrabbling randomly. Under the pressure, he suddenly felt a wetness on his chest. So he quickly got up and went to the kitchen, took an empty bowl, and soon squeezed another half bowl. After Lin Qi went downstairs, he did not go to the street, but came to the third residential building. He only explored 2 of the 3 residential buildings. The corridor of the last one was full of blood, which stopped Lin Qi last time. But after changing to new equipment this time, he didn't care much about this kind of danger. When he opened the iron door, a bloody smell filled the air. There was still a layer of black mucus on the ground, but there were a few fresh footprints on the mucus. Did a zombie come down? Lin Qi remembered the last time he opened the door to check briefly, and his heart was suddenly awed. So he held a long gun and slowly explored the corridor. The doors of the 4 households on the first floor were all locked. Lin Qi did not open the door without permission, but slowly came to the second floor. As soon as I stepped into the second floor, I could smell a stronger stench, almost nauseating. Sure enough, at the end of the corridor, I saw an open door. There was a pool of blood on the ground, extending all the way to the door. Chapter 11: Killing the Mutated Zombies. Lin Qi untied his longbow, stood by the wall, placed the arrows one by one, and then held the spear and tapped the ground lightly. Amid a clang, a low roar came from the room at the end of the corridor. Seeing this, Lin Qi immediately changed his bow and arrow and aimed at the door. The heavy footsteps were getting closer and closer. With a bang, the door shook violently, and a sturdy figure walked out of the room, panting. This was also a zombie, and an infected type. There was no sign of decay on his body. His clothes seemed to be torn, revealing bulging muscles. However, the color of the muscles was extremely pale for some reason, and even the stratum corneum appeared on the joints. The hands were like claws, and the nails were extremely sharp. Mutant. Even though he was prepared, Lin Qi was shocked when he saw this mutant zombie for the first time. In his panic, he did not aim at the zombie's head at all. He loosened his hand and the arrow flew out. Bang! It was like the muffled sound of an arrow shooting into leather. Although it hit the zombie's chest, the arrow was flicked by it and broke into 2 pieces and fell down. Roar! The mutant zombie seemed to have a sense of pain. After a roar, it quickly rushed towards Lin Qi. The illusory panel in front of him flashed by. Lin Qi had no time to shoot the second shot. He threw away the wooden bow in his hand and picked up the spear to prepare for battle. When the zombie approached, he raised his gun and stabbed it again at the place where the arrow hit. The powerful impact made Lin Qi slide backwards continuously. In terms of strength alone, this mutant zombie was much better than Lin Qi. Fortunately, the zombie's waving arms could not hurt itself because of its long arms. Zombies don't seem to be very intelligent. As soon as Lin Qi had this thought in his mind, he felt the force on the gun loosen. The mutant zombie stopped rushing forward and slapped the gun barrel with a slap. The spear was instantly knocked away, leaving a deep mark on the wall. The stainless steel pipe was dented, but the zombie couldn't help but take a few steps back. A huge hole was opened on its chest, and its internal organs could be vaguely seen beating. With the strength of the zombie's swing, the indestructible spearhead directly blew away most of its chest. Although this attack would not be fatal, it also temporarily delayed its pace. The zombie, who only had hunting instincts, seemed to have not figured out why there was such a big wound on its body. It raised its hand to stuff the flowing internal organs back, and the other hand suddenly grabbed Lin Qi. Lin Qi retreated again and had reached the corner of the wall. At this moment, the zombies burst into ferocity, and the threat was far greater than before. If they were contaminated by the corpse blood, not to mention whether they would be infected, the nausea alone could make people lose their combat effectiveness. A dragon throws a dagger and the universe breaks. Lin Qi held a gun in both hands and spun quickly. Suddenly, a dragon appeared on the gun body, circling around the gun body. When it spun to the extreme, the long gun in his hand flew out of his hand and turned into a long dragon and flew out. The powerful Qi force instantly penetrated the chest of the mutant zombie. This force even pushed its entire body back and pushed it to the end of the corridor. With a bang, the bricks and stones shattered. The long gun was like a thick nail, nailing the mutant zombie to the wall. Its chest collapsed and its body was almost broken into 2 sections, with only some flesh and skin connected. After the attack, Lin Qi followed closely, grabbed the wooden bow on the ground, and shot with an arrow. Holding the wooden bow again, a familiar feeling came to his mind, as if he had several years of experience in using it. Just by pulling the bow and putting the arrow, Lin Qi understood the performance of this wooden bow. Swoosh! An arrow broke through the air, and the arrow was firmly inserted into the mutant zombie's eyes, nailing its head to the wall. The head was broken, causing the mutant zombie's last vitality to quickly fade away. The body that was originally trembling and trying to break free also slowly collapsed. At this time, Lin Qi had time to check the archery skills he had just obtained. Hit the target with a bow and arrow to obtain basic archery. The current skill can be advanced. Advanced conditions. 1. Use a bow and arrow to shoot 100 targets. Just basic archery made Lin Qi feel that he could hit the target within a range of 20 meters, and he had a very deep understanding of the bow. I wonder what changes will happen after the advancement. If it is like basic spearmanship, and special skills appear, it will be much more promising than firearms. After all, ordinary people have no chance to come into contact with firearms. Blood dripped slowly along the spear. The blood of this mutant zombie was completely different from those infected zombies. It was more bright and solid, as if it had vitality. Looking closely, the front end of the gun barrel had exploded, and the newly obtained weapon was completely scrapped. I have killed a mutant creature, but where can I get the gene crystal? Looking at the bloody body of the zombie, Lin Qi felt that it was difficult to start. After hesitating for a long time, he took out the dagger and slowly cut open the zombie's flesh. Ugh! He vomited while cutting, and his stomach twitched from vomiting. He slowly got used to this feeling. This skin is really tough. After cutting open the zombie's chest, a shattered internal organ fell out. Lin Qi poked it with an arrow for a few times, but didn't find anything that concerned him. After the head was broken, Lin Qi couldn't help but lean against the wall and retched. The red and white mixed brain matter was even beating slightly, and the bright red veins were like spider webs. It was a pity that there was nothing special inside. It seems that this mutant zombie has no such thing as evolution crystal. Lin Qi really didn't want to look for it anymore. He lifted the zombie's head and pressed it on his neck, and adjusted his posture. Excuse me. The room where the mutant zombie appeared was covered with sticky blood, just like the corridor. The room was in a mess, as if it had been through a war. Lin Qi carefully came to the innermost bedroom. The door had been broken. There was a pile of flesh and bones in the corner, with 4 or 5 heads of different sizes. It's really exciting. Lin Qi just took a look and then stepped out, pounding his chest. After suppressing the nausea, he left the room. There was only this mutant zombie in this building. The doors of the other rooms were either closed or had been ravaged beyond recognition. However, Lin Qi found the same steel pipe on the balcony of another room. He restocked his equipment again, and his combat power was directly raised to a higher level, making up for the lack of long-range weapons. This time, Lin Qi really stepped out of the door and walked up the street. Because of the helicopter's call, the zombies hidden in the city completely rioted. Most of them wandered on the streets, aimlessly looking for the source of the sound. As soon as he left the street, Lin Qi saw several wandering zombies. An arrow shot through the zombie's head, halfway into it. You used too much force. The arrow was stained with too much zombie blood, so it could not be recycled. Otherwise, if it was used again, it would inevitably leave zombie blood on the bow. After several attempts, Lin Qi gradually found the right force. He's out. In a building in the distance, hidden under the curtains, a person saw Lin Qi walking out of the yard and hurriedly reminded the people in the room. When he finished speaking, several people surrounded him and looked through the window to see what was happening outside. He actually has a bow and arrow. It's only been a few days, and this guy has another weapon. Wait until he leaves. Let's go to his place to see. There must be a lot of supplies hidden there. Liu Bo threw the cigarette butt in his hand to the younger brother beside him, looking gloomy. Yesterday they went to a hotel, and after they pried open the door, they found that all the supplies inside had been looted, and they only found a little bit, wasting a day. Since he became the boss, he has to consider the food, drink, defecation and urination of a group of younger brothers, but these people are completely useless and don't even have the courage to face the zombies. Chapter 12. A group of unlucky people. Most of the dozen people who escaped from the hotel that day died tragically at the hands of zombies. The 5 of them were lucky enough to hide in this building. Relying on the supplies left in the room, they did not starve. However, after seeing the horror of the infected zombies, no one dared to face them. After all, it was not a slow-moving virus zombie, but an infected zombie that chased people and bit them. The threat level was not at the same level. Let's go downstairs. Seeing Lin Qi gradually disappear at the end of the street, Liu Bo immediately gave orders and led the 4 people outside. It seemed that they were influenced by Lin Qi in the hotel. The 5 of them made a long gun, especially Liu Bo, who was holding a 1.8-meter long steel chisel in his hand. It had a good power without deliberately polishing it. He also deliberately wrapped linen around the steel chisel to increase the sense of holding. The weapons of the remaining 4 people were a bit shabby. Some were modified from mops, and some were clothes hangers like Lin Qi. The 5 people went downstairs carefully, and Liu Bo was still the first. When they got downstairs, they saw zombies slowly wandering over from the street. You too, come and test your courage. Liu Bo was not afraid of this virus zombie. To him, it was just bullying a terminally ill patient. He had already overcome the psychological barrier. But for the other people, facing this kind of zombie required great courage. Boss, you should come. We will just support you from behind. The honest young man was so scared that his face turned pale. After 2 days, the decay of the virus zombie became more and more terrible. Even when walking, the rotten flesh on his body was falling off. Damn it. If you have 1/10 of the courage of that guy, I dare to take you to the street. Liu Bo cursed, resignedly took 2 steps forward, raised the steel drill in his hand and stabbed it into the zombie's face. The drill had directly penetrated the zombie's head. With a casual push, the zombie fell to the ground. It's dead now. Come and poke it a few times to overcome some psychological barriers. Liu Bo knew that if he continued, these burdens would sooner or later drag him down. It would be better to train them properly. If someone still dared not to face the zombies, he would have to find a way to abandon them. Such people would only hinder him. Although the zombies were dead, the stench on their bodies made it difficult for people to approach. The 4 people moved for a long time before slowly approaching, raising their spears and stabbing a few times with their eyes closed. Feeling the softness of the spears when they came into contact with the rotten meat, one of them couldn't help but vomit. It seemed that a chain reaction had started, so one person followed another, and they all leaned against the wall and vomited acid. In the end, even Liu Bo was deeply affected and couldn't help but retching a few times. It wasn't until he lit a cigarette and took a deep breath that he suppressed nausea in his stomach. Boss, give me a puff. Seeing Liu Bo squatting on the side smoking, the honest young man closest to him wiped his mouth and leaned forward with a flattering look. Liu Bo took another deep breath before throwing the half-smoked cigarette over. Damn, I'm so sick, don't vomit, hurry up, or the zombies will smell it and come over. Liu Bo looked at the ugly faces of the few people, with a look of annoyance on his face. Why did he agree to take these idiots with him in the first place? Seeing Liu Bo walk away, the remaining 3 people didn't dare to vomit anymore, and they all chased after him with their long guns. It was only a distance of 100 meters, but the few people walked for nearly 10 minutes before they arrived in front of the residential courtyard where Lin Qi was. There were several rotting zombies in front of the iron gate, emitting a disgusting stench, but fortunately they had almost vomited. Boss, there is a lock, what should we do if we can't get in? The honest young man was called Chen Xiaobo. Although he was not very courageous, he knew how to observe words and expressions, find problems, and create trouble. If there is a lock, break it. Liu Bo had a dark face, pushed the people in front of him away, picked up the 8-jin steel drill, and swung it hard. There was a loud bang, and the iron door trembled a few times, but the iron lock was not broken. Liu Bo's eyes twitched wildly, and he shook his hands imperceptibly. Stay away, you're affecting my performance. After the 4 people retreated a few steps, Liu Bo didn't dare to break it anymore. He inserted the steel drill into the lock and pried it hard. With a click, the iron lock was pried open. Before he could pull out the steel drill, the 4 people pushed the door and hid in it impatiently. During the days of observation, they already knew that this residential courtyard was a very safe place. Even if there were zombies, they were all cleaned up by Lin Qi. Subconsciously, they wanted to step into a safe place to feel more at ease. Damn, you run so fast. Liu Bo couldn't help but curse again. After pulling out the steel drill, He followed closely. He circled around the 3 residential buildings. The doors of 2 buildings were all locked, and only one was half closed. Zhao Tuanchuan, who was standing in front of the window on the 2nd floor, had already noticed the movement outside. She hid behind the bed curtain and secretly watched the people downstairs. At this moment, only the closed door could give her a sense of security. "Brother Lin, come back soon." Zhao Tuanchuan huddled on the sofa, her eyes full of panic. "Boss, the door of this building is not locked. That kid must have forgotten to lock the door when he came out." Chen Xiaobo seemed to have discovered something, and ran back in a flash, asking for credit. "It's not like I don't have eyes. I saw it a long time ago." Liu Bo disliked his younger brother more and more at this moment, and immediately strode forward and came to the front of the building. As soon as he opened the door, he saw a layer of dark brown blood on the ground, and subconsciously took a step back. "There are footprints on the ground, there is no mistake, it is this building." With the clues on the ground, he quickly made a judgment. So he took a step, and when he was about to go upstairs, he stopped again. "You two go ahead." Liu Bo pointed at the other 2 with a steel chisel. As the boss, he had to maintain his dignity at all times. How could he lead the charge himself? "Boss, we are not as good as you. If we encounter zombies, we won't be able to defeat them." The 2 were so scared that their legs were shaking. It was already a great courage for them to follow Liu Bo out. How could they dare to face the zombies alone? "What are you afraid of? How could there be zombies where he lives? He has already cleaned them up. If you don't have this much courage, you 2 should not follow me in the future." Liu Bo's face was gloomy, and he had the urge to kill these 2 rubbish. The 2 thought about it and understood it. After looking at each other, they mustered up the courage to walk into the corridor. The dark brown mucus on the ground made it seem as if their feet were being pulled by something when they walked. With every step, they felt more and more afraid. However, Liu Bo was pressing behind them step by step, and the 2 did not dare to retreat. Fortunately, all the doors on the 1st floor were closed, so they escaped without any danger. When they came to the 2nd floor, they saw a bright red blood mark on the ground as soon as they came out of the corridor. They were so scared that they could not lift their feet. "Boss, there is blood on the ground." Bright red blood. The dark brown blood was far less frightening than the bright red blood. The 2 rushed to retreat into the corridor, as if there was a monster in front of them that was ready to eat people. "A pool of blood scared you so much? Damn it." Liu Bo pushed the 2 people away, holding a steel drill, and slowly walked out. Following the blood mark on the ground, his eyes gradually shifted. When he saw the skin zombie nailed to the wall, his pupils shrank slightly. Oh my god. Even though he was mentally prepared, Liu Bo was frightened and screamed, and the 4 people behind him heard the scream and ran downstairs without looking back. When he looked back, the 4 people had already run away and disappeared. Damn. This place is too weird. Liu Bo was the only one left, and he didn't dare to continue exploring, so he had to retreat carefully. Chapter 13. Heading to the central street. Zhao Tuanchuan was relieved when he saw the 4 people outside the window leave the yard, but he still held the kitchen knife tightly in his hand. "You guys ran fast, I'll chop you to death if you dare to come." The girl's eyes were full of fierceness. In her heart, she had already accepted the cruelty of the doomsday and was ready to kill. At this age, people accept new things much faster than adults. It was not until the afternoon when she saw Lin Qi's figure from the window that Zhao Tuanchuan relaxed her guard and put the kitchen knife back in the kitchen. Lin Qi walked to the iron gate and saw that the door lock was broken. He couldn't help but groan in his heart. Oh no, someone has been here. At the current stage of the doomsday, zombies are not the most terrifying. With handy weapons and the courage to fight, facing zombies is just a little dangerous. But people's hearts are unpredictable. No one knows whether someone will secretly shoot cold arrows or steal the house behind their backs, turning the supplies and spoils they have worked hard to search into nothing. Without time to think, Lin Qi quickly ran towards the residential building. When he saw that the door lock of the building he lived in was still intact, he breathed a sigh of relief. After going upstairs, he went straight to the room. As soon as he opened the door, Zhao Tuanchuan ran over. He seemed to hesitate for a moment, and then reached out to hug Lin Qi's waist. "Brother Lin, can you take me with you next time you go out? I can help you get things." Today's incident made the girl nervous. Although it was just a false alarm, if the 4 people broke in, she would definitely not be able to resist at this stage. Feeling the thick touch on his chest, Lin Qi took several steps back and was pressed against the wall. Under the recoil force, the contact area was a little larger, and Lin Qi even felt a few bounces. Let go first. Lin Qi gently patted Zhao Tuanchuan's back. After a few days of getting along, the two of them shared weal and woe, and the distance between them was getting closer and closer. But after knowing where the milk came from, there was a sense of awkwardness in his heart. Those people from the hotel broke in, but fortunately they didn't enter this building. I suspect they must know we live here. Zhao Tuanchuan's eyes were full of worry. Unknown dangers are the most terrifying. Don't worry, we will set off to evacuate towards the central street tomorrow. When he went out today, Lin Qi only explored half of the journey. Because of the warning sound of the helicopter flying over, the zombies in the whole city became agitated, and the number of zombies on the street was obviously a little more. After comforting Zhao Tuanchuan, the two began to pack up supplies. During the day, because someone broke into the vicinity of the yard, Zhao Tuanchuan had no time to prepare, so he just sorted out the supplies and put them in the kitchen. The two boiled all the remaining dozen eggs, steamed the rice into rice balls, made steamed buns with flour, and sorted out some light supplies for the rest of the supplies and stuffed them into the backpack. They were busy until late at night. Under the pale yellow light of the vegetable oil lamp, Zhao Tuanchuan's weak body seemed to have great energy, without a trace of fatigue. Okay, these are enough. We can't take more. 2 large backpacks full of food would be fine if it was a normal trip. It would just be a little tiring, but they also had to avoid the zombies outside, and too much weight would undoubtedly become an obstacle to escape. Zhao Tuanchuan thought about it and realized that something was wrong, so she took out some of the things and put them in her backpack. Brother Lin, carry the light things tomorrow, and I'll carry the heavy things. Don't worry, I can definitely keep up. If it were the previous few days, Zhao Tuanchuan would never joke about her life, but today when she was nervous, she unknowingly realized a new ability of hers. At that time, when she saw Liu Bo and the other 4 entering the yard, Zhao Tuanchuan had already had the idea of fighting desperately in her heart. With her excited mood, a force slowly spread from her chest to her body, which made her physique get a comprehensive improvement. And now, she can feel that her physical fitness is slowly changing at any time. Perhaps it won't be long before she can surpass the strong man in strength. Actually, there's no need to worry too much. Most of the zombies in the city are virus bodies. As long as you're careful, you won't be in danger. Although the mutant zombie encountered in the next building today is a little special, it can be easily dealt with the special skills obtained by Lin Qi. And the longer the skills are practiced, the more powerful they will be. I will only get stronger slowly. I believe in Brother Lin. Zhao Tuanchuan encouraged with a fist. She didn't know much about Lin Qi's strength, but after feeding him the high-energy nutrition she condensed several times, she believed that Lin Qi's physique had also been greatly improved. Seeing Lin Qi's strength improve little by little, Zhao Tuanchuan was also very pleased. After the busy work, it was already midnight. The two said goodnight to each other and returned to their rooms. It was not until the next morning that the two packed their luggage and walked out of the door. Lin Qi carried a backpack, held the longbow in his hand, and tied the quiver around his waist, while Zhao Tuanchuan held the steel pipe for self-defense and carried a lot of food on his back. After leaving the building, they saw 2 zombies wandering in the yard. The iron gate was pried open yesterday, and Lin Qi did not close it when he came back. Unexpectedly, zombies actually wandered in. Don't be afraid, let me do it. Lin Qi pulled out an arrow, raised the arrow and shot. The distance of less than 20 meters was a perfect hit for him. Before the 2 zombies could react, the arrows had hit their heads and penetrated 3/4. Lin Qi retrieved the arrows and reinserted them into the quiver. After making sure that there were no more zombies around, he continued to move forward with Zhao Tuanchuan. Yesterday, several of the 30 arrows had been scrapped, and now there were only 25 left. They must be used with caution, otherwise the advanced task of basic archery has not been completed, and I am afraid that all the arrows will be scrapped. Brother Lin is really amazing. Zhao Tuanchuan's bright eyes showed a trace of doubt. She still couldn't figure out what aspect of Lin Qi's awakened genetic enhancement was. Moreover, how could this crudely made arrow have such power? Just by sharpening the arrow shaft, it could shoot through the zombie's head. You know, the skull is very hard. Follow closely, don't fall too far behind when you cross the street later. Lin Qi couldn't help but feel heavy in his heart when he encountered zombies just after going out. Generally speaking, if he went out unfavorably, the whole journey would not be too smooth. Sure enough, after leaving the compound gate, there were obviously more zombies on the street, and even the roars from the infected zombies could be heard faintly. Lin Qi had planned the route of action yesterday. If he was alone, he could easily avoid the zombies, but with Zhao Tuanchuan, he had to ensure her safety. Walk close to the wall and stay as far away from the zombies as possible. 10 meters away, as long as the movement is not too loud, they will not attack. While observing the surrounding environment and looking for a suitable route, Lin Qi shared the information he had with Zhao Tuanchuan. Most of the eyes of the virus zombies have rotted away, and they have no vision at all. The way they find prey should be the magnetic field induction between organisms. Of course, if the vibration is too strong, the location will be locked. Chapter 14, Let's go while it's hot. Just after crossing a street, Lin Qi gestured with his hand, and the two stopped. Listen carefully, is there any sound? There was no other noise in the silent city, so the subtle sound of breaking through the air could be easily detected. As the two listened attentively, a roar suddenly came, and the source of the sound was near the building not far away. It's a mutant zombie. Lin Qi was extremely sensitive to the sound of mutant zombies. This roar had a shocking momentum. As the sound came out, the zombies that were originally wandering aimlessly on the street seemed to be summoned, and they turned around and walked towards the building. Even though they were slow, after a while, most of them had gathered there. There should be someone there, attracting the attention of the mutant zombies. Let's go the other way. The building was near the road that Lin Qi explored yesterday, but he didn't encounter the terrible mutant zombies yesterday, so he had to change his route now. The zombies nearby were attracted away, which just gave the two a safe passage, so they quickly crossed a street and turned into a group of buildings. Not long after entering, I saw several people in a hurry not far away. They also had the same purpose, and they were moving their targets as quickly as possible, approaching the central street. When they found Lin Qi and Zhao Tuanchuan, they did not stop, and even looked alert. Lin Qi did not want to have any intersection with these people, so he stopped silently and waited for them to leave first. Boss, they have weapons. There were 8 people in this group, 5 men and 3 women. The men were all strong and the women were all of high quality. Even in normal times, it was difficult to meet such high-quality people. I didn't expect to meet them when the doomsday came. I saw how powerful a wooden bow can be. The leading man was tall and strong, with a shaved head, and looked quite fierce. He stared at the backpacks on the 2 people, thinking, they must have food on them. We'll find a chance to check them later. If they dare to resist, we don't have enough women. That girl is quite tender. The bald man's eyes showed a hint of lust. Even though they were 40 or 50 meters away and couldn't see the other person's appearance clearly, his figure couldn't betray him. Boss, you can't eat alone. The brothers haven't tasted anything new for a long time. Hearing the bald man's words, the remaining 4 laughed. Before the end of the world, several people were good citizens who abided by the law and obeyed the law. But the future was dim and bleak. Without the constraints of the law, people's hearts were completely corrupted. In order to enjoy more before death, they unknowingly revealed the evil in their hearts step by step. They were trapped in the building. There were more than 20 people, but most of the remaining people were old, weak, sick and disabled, and were regarded as a burden. This time, they used the excuse of going out to find supplies and only brought 3 of the most beautiful women, leaving the others in the building. Don't worry, if I eat meat, you will have soup. The bald man waved to the few people to hide in a corner and wait for the 2 to approach. Brother Lin, those people seem to be a little strange. Zhao Tuanchuan has good eyesight. Those people just now kept looking back at them. They must have some special ideas. The girl's 6th sense is very sharp. How many normal people can there be in the doomsday? Be careful later. Lin Qi pulled out an arrow and put it on the bow, ready to attack at any time. When he walked along the street, the 5 people suddenly appeared from the corner and ran towards them. Brother, are you going to the central street too? How about we go together? The bald man did not speak, but asked a man in a suit with glasses to negotiate. The man in the suit had a kind face and did not make people wary at first sight. No need, the fewer people, the smaller the target. We don't want to be chased by zombies. Lin Qi raised his bow and aimed, preparing for the worst in everything. At this moment, he regarded these people as enemies. Little brother, don't do that. Look, we are 5 strong men, and we have weapons. Even if zombies come, We can protect you. It will be very safe to follow us. The man in the suit said, and he couldn't help looking at Zhao Tuanchuan, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. It was not very clear from a distance, but at such a close distance, Zhao Tuanchuan's well-behaved face actually had a little baby fat, and the shoulders tightened by the backpack made the chest stand out more. Compared with the three beauties in his team, they were simply small witches compared to them. My last warning to you, get out. Lin Qi saw the eyes of several people, and his heart became more and more disgusted. Unconsciously, he had regarded Zhao Tuanchuan as the closest person to him in this world. This kind of person who obviously has a special purpose may not be his purpose. Boy, don't accept the toast and drink the penalty wine. Do you think you can scare us with a branch? You don't even have an arrow, why pretend to be an archer? The bald man showed a hint of ferocity on his face, and the flesh on his face jumped. He held a fire axe in his hand, pushed the two people in front of him and walked over. There were brown bloodstains on the fire axe, proving that it was a weapon that had been blessed. Normally, he could frighten most survivors by showing his fierce appearance. This innate temperament made it very easy for him to be feared by everyone after the doomsday. Swoosh! The arrow broke through the air and pierced the bald man's neck directly. The exposed arrow tip protruded from the back of his neck for 3 fingers, which frightened the 4 people behind him and made them tremble all over. They subconsciously ran several meters away. Who's next? Lin Qi drew his bow again and aimed at the remaining 4 people. Seeing the arrow locked, the remaining few people panicked and didn't even dare to say a word. In the blink of an eye, they ran across the street and disappeared around the corner. Brother Lin, you killed someone again. Although Zhao Tuanchuan's tone was a little trembling, there was no panic expression on his face. Instead, there was a hint of excitement in his eyes. These guys are obviously waiting for us, and their weapons are covered with zombie blood. Their intentions are not pure. If I don't take action in advance, I will definitely suffer if I fall into passive position. Lin Qi stepped forward and pulled out the arrow. At this moment, the bald man's body had collapsed. Although he was still twitching, he could no longer use any strength. Why don't you kill all those people? Zhao Tuanchuan seemed to have gradually accepted the matter of killing. After changing his mind, he was afraid that these people would retaliate, so he might as well kill them all. They have already run away for a distance. I am not sure I can hit the vital points. Besides, there are only these arrows left. It is also very troublesome to recover them. The way of dealing with things with a main consciousness as a bystander made Lin Qi feel no guilt about killing people. It was like killing and venting indiscriminately in a game with a high degree of freedom, without considering the impact of reality at all. It's not dead yet. I should be able to hit it while it's hot. So he drew out the dagger, aimed at the back of the bald man's head, and stabbed it. The progress of the dagger's advancement is very difficult. If there is such an opportunity, Lin Qi will naturally not let it go. Moreover, destroying the bald man's brain can prevent him from turning into a zombie. With his physique, he might have the potential to become a mutated zombie. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 15: The Clear Road. The closer they got to the central street, the more survivors they encountered. Those who dared to come out to explore the road at this time all had the courage to face the zombies and were fully armed. Lin Qi even saw people holding fine bows and arrows, extended machetes, and even people holding double-barreled spray guns. It was hard to imagine that in the Central Asian Federation, where guns were strictly prohibited, ordinary people would actually have guns in their hands. With so many people, the two of them seemed less noticeable. Zombies don't seem to be as scary as imagined. Lin Qi was a little dazed. In his memory of the doomsday movies or novels, as long as the zombie crisis broke out, almost everyone was in danger, the city fell in a short period of time, and the order was in chaos. But at this moment, the groups of survivors going out on the street made him feel unreal. Brother Lin, what's wrong? Zhao Tuanchuan saw Lin Qi stop and think about it, and couldn't help asking. It's okay, we just follow them. In fact, if you think about it carefully, the doomsday did not come directly, but experienced a 3-month-long change. Perhaps the Federation had already known this possibility and had arranged everything in advance. The survivors have witnessed the changes of the virus zombie step by step from the initial isolation. Some people were even ready to face the arrival of the doomsday 2 months ago. Someone in front of them spontaneously formed a guard team to guard against the approaching zombies at all times, especially the survivors holding crossbows. Whenever a zombie approaches, they will run forward, and you can even see the excitement on their faces. There are hunting genes hidden in men's blood. In peacetime, playing with slingshots is restricted everywhere. Now that the weapons in their hands finally have a place to use, how can they not show their skills? Seeing that the team is getting bigger and bigger, even the survivors hiding nearby saw the crowds appearing on the street and joined them. The number of people has unknowingly exceeded 100, making the originally empty streets lively. There is a large wave of zombies ahead. Come and support those with long-range weapons. Someone in front of the team shouted loudly, and the team, which was originally a little quiet, became lively in an instant. Most people have a sense of fear of infected zombies. After all, this is not the kind of unlucky person who died of illness, but an infected living person with powerful attack power. I have a crossbow. Me. I have a slingshot. How big is the wave? The survivors who were originally in the middle of the team and on both sides of the street spoke up to support and ran forward quickly. At the end of this branch road is a large roundabout with 8 intersections around it, which can be said to be the intersection of half of the city. Therefore, the density of zombies here is far higher than that of ordinary streets, and it is not surprising that infected zombies appear. Zombie wandering is an irregular activity, but for some reason, they will slowly gather together to form a zombie tide, and the open place such as the roundabout in the center of the road just forms a closed road loop, trapping a large number of zombies here. Lin Qi and Zhao Tuanshan also came forward and looked at the zombies surrounding the roundabout. They were also very surprised. No wonder there are fewer and fewer zombies in the streets and communities. It turns out that they have all run here. The circular road around the roundabout is full of densely packed zombies, and they are always turning in a clockwise direction. Judging from the muddy bloodstains under their feet, they must have walked for a long time, so that some zombies have been trampled into meat paste. If you want to go to the central street, you must pass through this roundabout or take a detour on both sides. However, no matter which way you go, you will face a lot of zombies. Lin Qi quickly made a judgment. To the left are the shops in the urban area with a denser population. To the right is a newly built building area with wide roads, but there are several isolated areas, and there are more zombies. Only after passing the roundabout, this street is relatively empty and can lead directly to the central street. After a short stop, the crowd slowly split into 3 groups. Some people bypassed a zombie group without waiting for negotiation and split to both sides. Brother Lin, which way should we go? Before Lin Qi made a judgment, the roar of helicopters came from the sky again. Helicopters flew quickly in the sky, as if they were patrolling the entire city. One of the helicopters had already noticed the survivors near the roundabout. The helicopter turned around in the air and quickly locked onto the zombie group on the roundabout. The third fight team has discovered a large number of survivors and requested support from the nearby ground team. The pilot on the helicopter saw the survivors on the ground, counted the number of people, and quickly passed a message out. Hundreds of survivors were enough to attract the attention of the rescue team. Rescue is coming. We are saved. The crowd cheered, and some even forgot that they were still in danger and shouted for help. The voices became louder and louder, so that the zombies wandering around the turntable became alert, and some slowly turned around and walked towards the survivors. Just as everyone was panicking, a 6-barreled Gatling gun slowly emerged from under the helicopter in the sky. With the sound of turning gears, flames sprayed out. The huge roar frightened most people, and they squatted on the ground with their heads in their hands. Some even quickly found shelter and hid. Only when they felt a vibration in the air did some people dare to stick their heads out to take a look. The zombies around the turntable were instantly submerged by the flames, and the blood mist filled the air, spraying the entire turntable. The hard road surface was already riddled with holes, and broken limbs and bodies were piled up everywhere on the ground. Under the gathering of blood and flesh, a stream of scarlet slowly flowed out. The source of all fear is the lack of firepower. Survivors, follow the main road to the central block, where a rescue team will pick you up. After the roar died down, a loud voice came from the helicopter, and the wings circled and slowly pulled up. However, the helicopter did not go away, but circled on the side, and the machine guns spewed out flames from time to time to clean up the zombies approaching around. Go. Lin Qi pulled Zhao Tuanchuan through the crowd quickly, and approached the edge of the turntable before the people around them could react. As the crowd crowded, those who were brave had already taken steps, and some even stepped on the muddy blood and crossed the turntable road. Even if there were zombies that were missed, their bodies were torn into pieces, with only half of their bodies crawling on the ground. For those who moved quickly, there was almost no threat. Some people even went forward to shoot an arrow, enjoying the pleasure of killing. Sure enough, TV is all a lie. If people go crazy, they are much scarier than zombies. One person is timid, and everyone is brave. After passing the roundabout, there is a wide avenue. Although there are many obstacles on the road, they are only for cars and can even effectively stop the movement of zombies. The intersections on both sides are blocked by iron bars. You can even see zombies trapped outside the iron bars, stretching their arms and grabbing at nothing. At first, the survivors were a little panicked, but gradually, looking at the empty streets, there were no zombies on both sides, and they slowed down unconsciously. The Federation installed guardrails on both sides of the main road 2 months ago and set up road restrictions. Is it to prevent the spread of zombies? In the middle of the crowd, a middle-aged man pushed his glasses and analyzed his guess. Teacher Zhang, who would have thought that the virus would turn people into zombies at that time? It should be to prevent the isolated patients from running around and causing the virus to spread. Teacher Zhang was followed by several young people. Judging from their appearance, they should be in a teacher-student relationship. It's not that simple. There must be something we don't know. Lin Qi was not far away and happened to hear their conversation. He had also experienced the spread of the virus in another parallel world, and the isolation at that time was vivid. In comparison, he really found some differences. At the intersections of the main roads, solid guardrails were installed, and even in the gaps of the green belts, wire mesh was installed, almost blocking the main roads. This seems to be to create a smooth road through the city. Chapter 16 Mutant Dog. Helicopters hovered in the sky, and gunshots could be heard from afar. Under the fully armed federal rescue team, even the mutant zombies could not withstand a round of gunfire. The crowd was still jogging at first, but gradually they slowed down after they felt there was no danger. Some of the weaker ones even dropped out of the team. How is it? Are you tired? Lin Qi deliberately walked in the center of the road, so that if there was an accident on any side of the road, he could adjust in time. Not tired, this is much easier than when we were camping before. Zhao Tuanchuan leaned on the steel pipe. At some point, she smeared some black dirty stuff on her face to cover her lovely face. She was indeed not tired, and even felt a warm current spreading from her chest from time to time, and her body became stronger and stronger. Occasionally, 1 or 2 zombies appeared in front of them. Before they could sense the human breath, the survivors with bows could not wait to aim. Some unlucky zombies were not killed after being shot by several arrows, and they were crawling on the road like hedgehogs. Suddenly, a scream came from the edge of the crowd. A yellow shadow jumped out from the green belt and bit the neck of the nearest person. The people around scattered. When they saw the yellow shadow clearly, the neck of the person on the ground had been torn open, and even a part of the trachea was exposed. Dog. It's a dog. The yellow thing was a half-grown dog with a slender body and yellow fur. Especially the pair of dog eyes, which were scarlet. Mutated creature. Lin Qi, who was not far away, knew that this dog was not ordinary at the first sight. It was not a stray dog in the city at all. When the city was closed, a professional team was sent out to capture animals in the city. Almost all the stray dogs and cats in the city were killed. Even the animals in the zoo were transported to other places. A man slowly approached with a homemade spear in his hand. Before he could attack, he heard a whimpering sound from the throat of the yellow dog. The yellow dog, which was licking blood, suddenly raised its head and glared angrily. "Damn! You scared me." The man trembled all over, goosebumps covered his body instantly, and when he reacted, he felt embarrassed, so he stabbed the dog's head with a spear in his hand. "Be careful, this dog has mutated, and its eyes are red." His companion's reminder did not make him stop, but he moved forward, his sleeves instantly stretched tight, and the spear in his hand almost turned into a residual shadow, stabbing up. However, the mutant yellow dog just jumped lightly and moved a few meters away. The spear was inserted straight into the ground, and the tip broke instantly. The mutant yellow dog seemed to be shocked by this attack, and its upturned tail was slowly clamped between its buttocks, and it slowly retreated. But it still grinned and looked fierce. Even though it has become a mutant creature, the dog is still subconsciously afraid of humans, especially those with weapons in their hands. A dog is a dog. Damn, dare to grin at me. Seeing that the yellow dog was repelled, the man's momentum became stronger, and there was a faint feeling of being different. At this moment, Zhao Tuanshu nervously pulled Lin Qi's hand and moved closer. Brother Lin, this man should have awakened his genes. He is very powerful. The man's sleeves were tightened just now, and Lin Qi also noticed it. At the moment of exerting force, the muscles in his arms swelled, which was indeed different from that of ordinary people. With him in the front, several people holding long weapons surrounded him. At this moment, they were not only trying to drive the mutant yellow dog away, but even wanted to kill it. Bang! The air trembled, and the huge impact force instantly lifted the mutant yellow dog's body. Half of its body exploded, and blood sprayed all over the ground. At this moment, everyone's mind was tense, as if they could feel the breath of death. Disperse, don't get close to the mutant beast. A shout came from a distance, and a team of fully armed combat teams ran out from the intersection, with a clear division of labor to block everyone from the mutant yellow dog's body. You are too bold to provoke the mutant beast. Fortunately, it is a dog. If it were anything else, it would have bitten you to death long ago. A member of the combat team quickly stepped forward to disperse the crowd. One of them walked to the mutant dog, took out a dagger and scratched the corpse a few times, then poured some liquid on the corpse and lit it directly. The smell of the mutant beast's blood will attract other creatures of the same kind. These creatures are more difficult to deal with than zombies. If the number exceeds a certain level, we will find it difficult to stop them. You must speed up and go to the central street. There has been a solid defense line built there. The team leader shouted loudly in the crowd, urging everyone to move forward. Only by sending this group of people to the central street can they free up their hands to help others. Brother Lin, did you see that man cut something from the mutant beast? Zhao Tuanshuan had been staring at these rescue teams just now. The position where the two of them were standing just now happened to be able to see the soldiers' actions. I saw it. It should be something unique to mutant animals. It seems that the federal government has hidden a lot of secrets. Lin Qi subconsciously thought of something like gene crystals. Lin Qi didn't find it on the mutant zombies at the beginning. Maybe it was something unique to mutant creatures. With the urging of the rescue team, everyone unknowingly quickened their pace. Every 50 meters, a rescue team was guarding the edge of the road, alert to the intersections along the way. The firearms they were equipped with were all silenced. Even if they were fired at close range, the sound would not be transmitted far. The sniper rifle that killed the mutant dog just now also made a very dull sound. It was only the vibration of the air that made everyone feel shocked. Ordinary people may never feel the impact of a sniper rifle at close range in their lives. After half an hour of dangerous journey, everyone finally arrived at the central street. Before approaching the core position, armored vehicles appeared on both sides. Heavy machine guns full of mechanical sense were arranged in rows at the intersections, blocking the central block tightly. The buildings on both sides had long been requisitioned by the Federation as temporary military camps. Fully armed soldiers guarded the streets and built simple fortifications nearby. At this moment, there were already many survivors near the camp. These people were closest to the central street. When they noticed that the rescue team was building fortifications here, they immediately entered the safe zone. There are more survivors. Someone come to guide them and let them go to the isolated safe zone. A busy officer saw a large group of people coming and waved to the soldiers beside him to help. The soldier saluted, quickly stepped out of the line, and ran towards the crowd of survivors. Everyone, be quiet. This is a special period. Please abide by the rules and don't walk around casually. Wait until everyone has read the notice. If anyone has any questions, I will patiently answer them. The soldier came to a huge billboard, which had already laid out the city defense plan map and the route to the isolated safe zone. Everyone rushed up and squeezed in, surrounding the sign to study it. This is a city planning map, a very clear satellite map, and the name of the city has been named District 32. 30 miles east along the central street is the isolated safety zone planned by the Federation. That location used to be a factory, surrounded by tall walls, which basically prevented ordinary zombies from entering. Chapter 17 Leaving the team. Lin Qi didn't have much impression of the factory, but it was conceivable that tens of thousands of people entering the factory would definitely cause great chaos. Especially in the initial period, Personnel management and material distribution were all great problems. At this moment, he was a little hesitant, wondering if going to the quarantine safety zone was the right plan. "Brother Lin, I don't want to go there." Zhao Tuanchuan just spoke at this time, looking at Lin Qi pleadingly. "To be honest, I don't want to go either." Now with his own abilities, as long as he didn't encounter creatures stronger than mutant zombies, he could almost wander around the city and live wherever he wanted. If he went to the quarantine safety zone, not only would his freedom be restricted, but he wouldn't even have 3 meals a day. Even milk wouldn't be available. But Lin Qi still wrote down the size of the 32nd city district and prepared to find a suitable area as a temporary foothold. People around the bulletin board were talking about it, and most people had different opinions on the safety of this quarantine safety zone. Lin Qi and Zhao Tuanchuan squeezed out of the crowd and joined the team of survivors in front. The federal rescue team built a security fortification of about 10 kilometers in the center of the city. In addition to the command center guard, and the rest of the team radiated in all directions in a fan shape, clearing the zombies in the city bit by bit. As long as there is enough time, the hundreds of thousands of zombies in the city can definitely be cleared. Don't underestimate the power of hot weapons, especially for experienced soldiers. As long as they guard the safe streets, no matter how many zombies there are, they can't break through the defense line under the suppression of heavy firepower. The two walked for several kilometers, turned over from a blocked intersection, and quickly disappeared on the street. Several wandering zombies were easily shot and killed by Lin Qi with a bow and arrow. When they arrived in front of a locked store, they poked the keyhole of the rolling door with a wire a few times and easily opened the door lock. "You can open this kind of lock." Zhao Tuanchuan looked at the wire in Lin Qi's hand in surprise. "You know, the lock core of the rolling door is a cross. As long as you poke the right place, any lock can be opened." Lin Qi didn't have time to explain. After the two entered, he pulled the door down and locked it again. The store is not big, and what comes into view is a mess of goods. It is obvious that the things here were moved at the beginning of the virus outbreak. However, there are still a lot of usable supplies left, such as canned food that can be stored for a long time, gifts with a long shelf life, and a large number of snacks and drinks. This place is good. I'll go to the second floor to see if there is a place to rest. Generally, this kind of 24-hour store is attached to the second floor. Some are used as warehouses, and some are private resting places. Going up the stairs from the back to the second floor, it is indeed a separate room. Although the room is small, it is fully furnished, but the room exudes a musty smell. Obviously, no one has lived in it for a long time. "Tuanchuan, you come and clean up, I will count the supplies downstairs." This kind of delicate work, Lin Qi can't do it, so he let the careful Zhao Tuanchuan arrange it. After coming downstairs, he took out a pack of cigarettes from the cabinet, opened a box and lit one. This small shop is open 24 hours a day. It is just at a crossroads, 2 blocks away from the central street. At this moment, you can still hear the constant gunfire coming from the city and the noise of helicopters flying in the sky. Lin Qi piled all the supplies in the store in the back, cleared a space, and sat on the chair in front of the counter. He opened a bottle of beer, took a big gulp, and then relaxed. This doomsday was completely different from what he had imagined. There were no zombies everywhere, and no survivors running around aimlessly. Although not many people dared to come out at this moment, almost everyone had the courage to face the zombies. Of course, there must be more people hiding at home waiting for rescue. "Brother Lin, I'm done, you can come up and rest too." At the stairs, Zhao Tuanchuan poked his head out, with a ponytail that didn't fall to his chest. "I'll finish this bottle of wine in a while." Lin Qi replied, looking at the Akamoto 001 on the shelf in front of the counter, and fell into deep thought. "This thing, I must eat it." The parallel self went from innocence to loyalty, and then indulged in enjoyment to boredom. He had experienced it all. As for beauty, he always liked young and beautiful types. The two of them have been together for a few days, although there is no romantic relationship, but it is normal for a single man and a single woman to live in the same room and depend on each other. After drinking a bottle of beer, Lin Qi opened a box of zuanmei, which made him unable to stop, and then went upstairs. Zhao Tuanchuan made the bed very neatly. At this moment, she was sitting on the bed, sorting the food in her backpack. There was only one bed in the room, which meant that the two of them would sleep together tonight, but the bed was big enough. "Brother Lin, eat something first." Zhao Tuanchuan handed over a pair of chopsticks and took out 2 portions of the prepared food. Let's wait and see here for a while. If the isolation safety zone stabilizes, we can find a way to join it. Lin Qi actually had his own selfish motives. Once he joined the isolation safety zone planned by the federal government, his skills would be useless. If he wanted to quickly advance his skills, he could only do so in a city without anyone to control him. Yet, Zhao Tuanchuan nodded. She didn't have an ideal place to go now. Only when she was with Lin Qi could she feel truly at ease. After dinner, it was afternoon. Through the sunlight outside the window, the house was still bright. Lin Qi planned to go out again. When there were sufficient supplies, most people were unwilling to go out and take risks. It was just that there was no way to pass the time. The two sat on the bed for a while and stared at each other in boredom. "Brother Lin, why don't we go out and teach me how to kill zombies?" Zhao Tuanchuan said in a hopeful tone. She didn't want to be a burden, especially in this doomsday disaster. Only after trying it for the first time, she would have an excuse to follow Lin Qi when he went out. "You want to kill zombies?" Lin Qi looked at the girl sitting on the bed in surprise. At this moment, she took off her shoes, crossed her legs together, and stretched her thighs, fully showing the girl's youthfulness. "Yes, don't you have a bow and arrow? Let me try to see if I can pull it open." Zhao Tuanchuan felt that her strength had increased a lot, and she should be able to pull the bow and arrow made by Lin Qi, but without the arrowhead, she didn't know how much killing power it could have. "Even if I give you the bow, you can't use it. Only I can use this kind of thing." Lin Qi took the bow on the table and motioned Zhao Tuanchuan to pull it open. This bow was originally made very long, so Zhao Tuanchuan had to stand up and learn how Lin Qi pulled the bow, pulling the bowstring with all her strength. With a creaking sound of wet wood being squeezed, the wooden bow was gradually pulled into an arc, and her little face instantly turned red, obviously using up all her strength. "Your movements are not standard, let me teach you." After obtaining the bow and arrow skills, Lin Qi already had a deep understanding of the bow. He could know the ability of any bow in his hand. He immediately got on the bed, stood behind Zhao Tuanchuan, and helped her adjust her posture. "Lean forward slightly and lift your butt a little." As the movements changed, Lin Qi taught her hand by hand, and the two bodies unconsciously fitted together. The fragrance of the girl's body, with a special milky smell, was clearly transmitted to Lin Qi's nose, and he couldn't help but take a deep breath. "Yes, that's it, then aim at the target." As the bowstring was released, an elastic force shook the bodies of the two people. Zhao Tuanchuan let go of her strength and lay in Lin Qi's arms. "This bow is so heavy, my hands are sore." Zhao Tuanchuan rubbed her hands. She saw that Lin Qi was so easy to shoot arrows, but it was so difficult for her turn. "I'll find you a compound bow later, then it will be much easier." The two put down the bow, but Lin Qi did not let go of his hand. He still held Zhao Tuanchuan in his arms and lay on the bed. Chapter 18 Mutant Rats. Zhao Tuanchuan was a little nervous at first, but after a while of silence, she slowly relaxed. In the doomsday, two people who were like duckweed gathered together, and they would unconsciously develop a sense of dependence. After a while, the breathing of the girl in his arms gradually stabilized, and she fell asleep unconsciously. "You can fall asleep like this." Lin Qi pinched Zhao Tuanchuan's soft face. At such a close distance, the skin that was so delicate that it could be blown away could even see the rosy blood vessels, as delicate as white jade. Zhao Tuanchuan frowned, curled up, and huddled tightly in Lin Qi's arms, and fell asleep again. These days, she has never slept a peaceful sleep. Even in the past few days, she often woke up in the middle of the night. Under the cover of darkness, she always had the fantasy of zombies breaking out of the door in her mind, and she could no longer fall asleep. But when she was lying in Lin Qi's arms, the sense of security made her forget all the dangers. Looking at the sleeping girl, Lin Qi had no desire for a while, and his mood became more and more calm, without a trace of ripples. After a moment of silence, he began to think about the changes in this doomsday. Although the federal government has apparently begun to control the city, the mutant dogs seen today indicate that animals have also begun to evolve, and no one knows how many animals are hidden in the city. While thinking, he did not notice that Zhao Tuanchuan was curled up on the side, hugging his arm tightly. Reluctantly pulling his arm out, hesitating again and again, Lin Qi never woke Zhao Tuanchuan up, but got up and went downstairs. The peculiarity of gene awakening allows humans to have the possibility of evolution, but most people did not notice it at the beginning. Only that kind of special change will attract people's attention. Just like Zhao Tuanchuan, who is still at the age of blooming, she can have such a strange ability, which makes her body more and more strange. Therefore, when she realizes that she has this special ability, she will fall into a state of self-protection and dare not let others find out. Sitting back at the counter on the first floor, Lin Qi lit another cigarette, and in the clouds of smoke, he thought about what to do next. With a lock-picking skill, he can go anywhere in the city freely. He just needs to avoid the wandering zombies. However, the news of the mutant beasts forced Lin Qi to face it with caution. Where there are dogs, there are cats. Where there are cats, there are mice. If the flying ones, the running ones, and the swimming ones all mutate, it will be a disaster for mankind. The zombies on the surface can be cleared with hot weapons, or even devastating blows, but the dangers hidden underground cannot be completely wiped out even after the roar of artillery fire. This forced Lin Qi to raise his crisis awareness to a higher level. The ability he has now is simply not enough to face the crisis that will come in the future. Gunshots continued to be heard outside. In the central passage between the two streets, the survivors were still moving towards a safe place, but as night fell, the doomsday in the dark became more and more hideous and terrifying. The rescue team has been escorting the survivors who are moving forward. When the sky gradually darkened, the speed of the team's movement became slower and slower. Everyone, walk faster and try to reach the quarantine safety zone tonight. The federal government has arranged accommodation and food for you. It is absolutely safe there. The fully armed soldier urged from time to time, but from his expression, it can be seen that the tension on his face became more and more obvious. I am freezing to death. Why is it getting colder and colder tonight? In the team, a young man with a simple face shrank his neck and cursed. Brother Liu, do you have any cigarettes? Give me one. Chen Xiaobo approached Liu, who was wearing a coat, and smiled flatteringly. No more, I just finished the last one. Liu Bo sucked the remaining cigarette butt into the mouthpiece and handed it to Chen Xiaobo. The 5 people heard the sound of the helicopter before, and came out to check with hope. After understanding the broadcast information, they followed the survivors to the central street. Because of the lack of preparation, most people were hungry and cold, and some people would not show it even if they had hidden food. An armored vehicle drove through the team, and the lights on the car illuminated the road for everyone, reducing a bit of depression in the dark night. But at this moment, there was a sudden chaos and screams from the back of the team, and the crowd panicked instantly. Rats! Rats are crawling on me! So many rats! A large number of rats came out from nowhere, and in the dark night, they quickly spread towards the pedestrians on the central street like a tide. These rats are of different sizes, some are the same as ordinary rats, and some are as strong as house cats, but the common feature is that they all have scarlet eyes and sharp teeth. At this moment, the pedestrians on the central street have been regarded as prey. After the rat tide, the screaming person was completely silent, and even the body lying on the ground turned into a bloody skeleton. The armored vehicle leading the way also noticed the movement. When the searchlight came over, dense red eyes came into view. Call for support. Call for support. An anxious voice came from the radio. A soldier couldn't stand this oppressive cover, picked up his rifle and fired at the rat tide, but a magazine of bullets could not slow down the rat tide at all. The people in front ran fast, but the mutant rats ran faster, especially in the dark night. The scarlet eyes seemed to ignore the darkness. Run. Get out of here. The soldier took a stun bomb from his waist, and without caring whether it would hurt the survivors nearby, he pulled his safety and threw it directly into the rat tide. With a bang, several rats were instantly blown away. The momentary tremor caused the rat tide to pause for a moment, but the next second it spread to the crowd again. The sound of gunfire, explosions, and cries made the silent night boil instantly, but after a moment, it gradually quieted down, leaving only the sound of gnawing bones and the movement of animals crawling across the ground. A huge rat slowly stood up, its hind legs trembling to support the ground, holding a head with its front paws and gnawing on it. After sucking up all the delicious brains, it casually threw the head on the ground. The small mutant rats that had been wandering nearby rushed into the head and licked the remaining flesh and blood clean. As the cold wind blew, the mutant rats all over the ground quickly retreated, and they went into the underground shadows from nowhere. Only skeletons were left on the street, and the smell of blood refused to dissipate. 10 minutes later, a group of fully armored vehicles drove over quickly, and under the spotlight, the tragic scene that had just happened was completely exposed. The street stretched for hundreds of meters, and almost all of it was dyed red. Red skeletons were scattered all over the ground. There was no trace of living people within a radius of several miles. Chapter 19, Special Slingshot. 2 streets away, Lin Qi heard the noise and hurried up to the second floor. Zhao Tuanchuan, who was sleeping, was also awakened. Looking out the window, he saw lights flashing in the distance and armored vehicles passing by quickly on the street. What's going on outside? Zhao Tuanchuan rubbed his eyes, feeling uncomfortable with the bright light outside. To have so many soldiers to support, it must be an uncontrollable situation. It seems that something unexpected happened outside. Such a large number of survivors migrated together, even if there was a rescue team to protect them, and the roads were unobstructed, it would definitely attract something. Is it a mutant zombie? Or a mutant beast? Okay, you continue to sleep. We'll leave here early tomorrow morning. I remember there are some villas in the east of the city. Find an unmanned villa to live in first. When the Federation completely stabilizes the situation, we'll go out again. At this time, the noise outside gave people a sense of security, and the sound of helicopters hovering in the sky was heard again. Searchlights were shown down, searching for suspicious targets on both sides of the central street. Brother Lin, why don't you sleep here? I'm a little scared to be alone. Zhao Tuanchuan had already woken up once at night. After dealing with her embarrassing problem, she fell asleep again without realizing it. Now she wasn't very sleepy. Okay, the view upstairs is better. If there's any danger, we can deal with it in time. Lin Qi didn't mind. After taking off his coat, he lay directly on the bed. The light from outside shone into the window from time to time. In the flickering light, he could see the other person's face clearly. Zhao Tuanchuan's collar was a little loose, revealing her fair neck, as if she had dealt with the wet clothes. She first went downstairs to the bathroom, and after coming back, she got into bed and lay next to Lin Qi. She seemed a little shy, and covered her face with a quilt directly, with a tense atmosphere everywhere. When she woke up before, Zhao Tuanchuan had already noticed that her clothes were soaked. Thinking that she must have been discovered by Lin Qi, she was even more ashamed to face him at this moment. However, lying next to Lin Qi, feeling this safe atmosphere, she fell asleep again without realizing it. Lin Qi wanted to talk to Zhao Tuanchuan for a while, but after noticing her calm breathing, he realized that she had fallen asleep, so he lost interest. Although there was constant light outside and armored vehicles patrolling back and forth, the more noise there was, the more at ease people felt. Unconsciously, Lin Qi also fell asleep slowly. In the early morning, the sun shone into the window for a long time. Lin Qi just wanted to turn over, but he felt that his arm was pressed and couldn't lift it. Then he realized that there was someone lying next to him. The numbness gradually disappeared, and he felt the warmth and fullness of his right hand, which was almost unable to cover it. Subconsciously, he gently pinched it. Zhao Tuanchuan was shocked and woke up instantly. She quickly got up and pulled Lin Qi's hand out of her arms. Her drooping hair covered her face, and she couldn't see any expression. My hand always likes to grab something when I sleep. It's an old problem. Lin Qi hurriedly explained that he didn't know when his hand went there. Perhaps it was a subconscious desire for fullness. If you want to blame someone, blame Zhao Tuanchuan for not taking good protection when sleeping, otherwise he wouldn't have been so easy to get into it. Brother Lin, I need to change clothes, you turn around first. Zhao Tuanchuan was not angry, and didn't even chase him away, but Lin Qi still took his equipment and went downstairs. After pouring 2 bottles of mineral water to wash, there was still a lingering fragrance on his hands. After a long time, Zhao Tuanchuan came down from upstairs and handed the white bottle in her hand to Lin Qi. Drink this, and I will forgive you. Her face was still a little flushed, and there was a hint of shyness in her eyes. The hand she stretched out was trembling slightly. Fresh. Lin Qi took it and smelled it. It was still a familiar smell, and he drank it in one gulp without hesitation. A bottle of milk entered his stomach, and he felt a warmth all over his body again, and he felt warm all over. I'm going to wash my face. Zhao Tuanchuan took the bottle back and walked towards the bathroom at the back. His steps unconsciously became much lighter. Is it milk washing? Lin Qi couldn't help but mutter, but he couldn't take advantage of the fresh milk. There were many high-calorie snacks in the store. After Lin Qi collected some, he looked at the things on the counter. There were several boxes of cigarettes. This kind of stress-relieving tonic was even more important than gold in the doomsday. After Zhao Tuanchuan came out, the two opened some drinks and milk. At this time, Zhao Tuanchuan no longer said that he couldn't drink milk, and drank a large bottle directly. I'll make you a weapon later, at least you can defend yourself. After a simple breakfast, Lin Qi began to search the store. There was a wooden slingshot fork in the drawer, but the rubber band was old and broke when pulled. However, Lin Qi suddenly had an idea and found something that could replace it. So he took out a box of Akamoto 001 from the counter, opened it and poured out all the contents. "Brother Lin, what are you doing with that?" Zhao Tuanchuan's face turned red, and he had a lot of fantasies in his mind. "I'll make you a slingshot. Use this instead of the rubber band. It's still powerful enough." After unpacking it, his hands were covered with lubricant. Lin Qi had to use another bottle of mineral water to wash off all the oil stains on the sleeve and tied it to the slingshot. He tried to stretch it. Because of the large taper, the stretching effect was very good, and it didn't require much force. "Try to see if you can pull it open." Lin Qi handed the slingshot to Zhao Tuanchuan. Perhaps this was a toy that only men were interested in. Even though Zhao Tuanchuan was imitating Lin Qi, her movements were somewhat deformed. "Come, I'll teach you." Lin Qi stood behind Zhao Tuanchuan again, holding her in his arms, and corrected her posture hand in hand. After a few times, she had learned it well. She only needed to use marbles to aim and shoot. Zhao Tuanchuan couldn't let go of the slingshot. Although it didn't seem to have much power, it finally gave her some means of attack. After everything was ready, Lin Qi opened the door. After an incident last night, almost all the zombies nearby were cleared. There were many zombie bodies on both sides of the road. Some of them had broken heads and no life, and some had broken limbs and remains, but they were still slowly crawling. When encountering these disabled zombies, Lin Qi easily shot an arrow. The arrow's advanced skills were slowly improving at a speed visible to the naked eye. Perhaps because of the appearance of the mutant beast, Lin Qi was very careful this time. Every time he crossed a street, he would look for a safe place with a wide field of vision to observe the surroundings. Only after confirming that there was no danger would he continue to move forward. "Wait, let me shoot this." Zhao Tuanchuan picked up a handful of stones from somewhere, pulled the slingshot to touch what he wanted, and aimed at the zombie's head with one eye closed. With a slight vibration of the leather case, the stone flew straight out, but it flew past the zombie's head. "You're aiming wrong. It's only a dozen meters away. Aim at the zombie's head. You can hit such a big target with your eyes closed." Lin Qi corrected Zhao Tuanchuan's posture again, helped her adjust the height of the slingshot, stabilized her backhand, and loosened the leather bag in his hand after aiming. With a muffled sound, the stone hit the zombie's face directly, knocking off a piece of rotten flesh. At the same time, an illusory light curtain appeared in front of Lin Qi's eyes. Activate slingshot skills, basic slingshot mastery, advanced conditions. 1. Hit the target 10 meters away 20 times. Right square bracket. Chapter 20. There is electricity. As expected, it was an easy skill to advance, but Lin Qi also gained a lot of insights and became more and more proficient in using the slingshot. The zombie that was attacked shook its head, as if it had sensed the enemy, and slowly walked towards the two of them. This zombie seems to be a little faster. Compared to the zombies that were paralyzed and staggering in the past 2 days, the current situation has caught up with the speed of ordinary people, especially when they are within 10 meters of the two people, as if they have sensed the source of information, and their speed has increased a bit. Lin Qi picked up the bow and arrow and shot an arrow. The arrow pierced the zombie's eyes and crushed its brain. The zombie's footsteps softened and fell directly to the ground. Unlucky, the arrows were all crushed. Looking at the crushed arrows, Lin Qi secretly thought it was a waste. He now had less than 20 arrows that he could use. "Brother Lin, will this kind of zombie also mutate?" Zhao Tuanchuan looked worried. She had heard a lot about mutated zombies from Lin Qi recently. If the city was full of mutated zombies that were extremely powerful and faster than ordinary people, it would be a disaster for mankind. It is very likely that the flesh of the virus-infected zombies will rot but not digest. As long as his body can move for a day, there is a possibility of mutation. Walking past a zombie, Lin Qi deliberately stopped and looked carefully. The teeth of this zombie had changed and became sharp and narrow. "Let's go quickly and try to find a suitable place to live today." This change made Lin Qi feel a little bit of crisis, so he quickened his pace with Zhao Tuanchuan. To the east of the city center is the newly planned urban area in the past 10 years. Unlike the complicated old urban area in the west of the city, this area is very neatly planned, with wide roads and many communities. In comparison, the zombies here are even rarer. Because when the virus was spreading, people who had the conditions could get a place for isolation protection, especially when the third month was the most serious. The city isolated tens of thousands of people in a short period of time, most of whom were from the East City District. However, the two had just walked a short distance when they heard a dense sound of gunfire from a distance, which seemed to be the movement made by the Federal Rescue Team. Quick, surround it, don't let it run away. In the community separated by a wall, the sound was clearly transmitted to the ears of the two people, as if they were blocking something. Captain, the target has been killed. The gunshot stopped, and after a moment, the movement gradually stopped. The people inside seemed to have caught the target. In this situation, Lin Qi would definitely not join in the fun. Seeing a convenience store on the side of the road, he quickly hid in it with Zhao Tuanchuan. The convenience store had been emptied of supplies, but through the window, the entrance to the community could be seen. After a while, several special protection vehicles drove out of the community gate and drove away. What are they doing? Are they saving people inside? Zhao Tuanchuan asked curiously. The Federal Rescue Team has become more and more mysterious since entering the city. Let's go in and take a look. Lin Qi was also curious. After the protection vehicles disappeared at the end of the road, the two quickly ran out of the convenience store and ran towards the community gate. After entering the residential area, they went directly to the place where they heard the noise outside. There were bloodstains scattered on the ground, and even on the lawn, there was a deep red color. There were many bullet holes on the wall, proving the movement just now. Following the smell of blood, Lin Qi finally found the body of an animal in the corner. It was a golden retriever, but its body shape was completely different from that of an ordinary golden retriever. Its sturdy body was like a half-grown calf, and the two fangs in its mouth were half a foot long. The golden retriever was covered with bullet holes, and half of its body was shot into rotten meat, with white bones exposed. Its forelegs had been cut off, leaving only the torso. Its head was split in half, and its brains were scattered all over the ground. Just like the mutant dog before, they should be looking for something on the animal. Lin Qi took out a dagger and picked it up. The meat was very fresh and looked very appetizing. Brother Lin, why did they cut off the dog's legs? Zhao Tuanchuan's eyes widened, without any fear, and even broke a branch, imitating Lin Qi's way to search the mutant dog's head. It should be edible. Mutated animals are different from those virus zombies. They have survived the virus infection and have antibodies in their bodies. So far, Lin Qi has not seen an animal zombie. It seems that animals with virus bodies have little ability to move. Even if there are some, they are probably eaten by their mutated counterparts. Then should we get some too? I haven't eaten meat for a long time. Zhao Tuanchuan snorted while speaking, raised her hand to wipe the corner of her mouth, and her eyes were full of desire for meat. Don't you feel disgusted? Look at what's in this dog's stomach. Lin Qi dug a few more times and picked out a finger from the rotten stomach, which was still wearing a gold ring. Hey, this dog has eaten people. Zhao Tuanchuan threw the stick at the dog with disdain and immediately lost interest. If it was just a mutant dog, she might be able to force herself to eat it to satisfy her desire, but once the dog eats a person, she will have a psychological resistance. Perhaps this resistance will slowly disappear, but not now. That's all for today. Let's stay in this community and leave tomorrow. After saying that, he walked towards the nearest residential building. How many secrets does the Federation hide? If she doesn't know anything about it, she will definitely not be able to cope with this sudden change. It's better to stay here and get in close contact with the Federal Rescue Team. Maybe she can get some information. And they have already searched this community, and they will definitely not search again. It's not even noon yet, shouldn't we hurry up and leave here? Zhao Tuanchuan was always wary of the Federal Rescue, but when she saw Lin Qi had entered the building, she hurriedly followed him. There are hundreds of households in this community, which is just right for Lin Qi to advance his lock-picking skills. After entering the first floor, he began to poke the doors one by one. There are quarantine seals outside this building. There should be no survivors inside. Lin Qi has found a pattern. If there are seals on the unit doors, the entire building has been quarantined and all have moved out. If there are no seals, it means that there are some residents who are self-isolating. There are 8 households on this floor, a total of 18 floors. One building can advance Lin Qi's lock-picking skills to the next level. Soon, the two of them pried open all the doors on the first floor and searched inside and out. The residents on the first floor did not satisfy the two of them, so they went up the stairs to the second floor. Unlock, unlock, unlock. It was not until they opened the third room and saw all the supplies piled up in the 2 secondary bedrooms that Lin Qi was sure that he had found the right place. The owner of this house obviously realized that the end of the world would come, but his luck does not seem to be so good. There was no one living in the room. Either they were quarantined or died outside. Brother Lin, there is still electricity in this room. Zhao Tuanchuan looked at a computer in the corner of the secondary bedroom and shouted excitedly. There was a green dot clearly lit up under the computer screen. Chapter 21. I have milk, do you want to drink it? Is there really electricity? Lin Qi put down his equipment and went to the room that Zhao Tuanchuan mentioned. There was a computer by the window, and there were 2 batteries in the corner. He immediately moved the keyboard and took the computer out of sleep mode. But when the screen lit up, a series of incomprehensible codes appeared, which seemed different from what he imagined. Huh? Why is there still internet? Zhao Tuanchuan saw the screen on the computer, pulled a stool over and sat on it. She tapped the keyboard quickly, and soon many web pages appeared on the computer. Since the end of the 2nd month, the electricity in the city has been cut off. Without power supply, mobile phones can't support it for a few days and become useless. Even if there is a generator, it is useless without the internet. Lin Qi stood behind Zhao Tuanchuan, watching her operation curiously. It only took a while to connect to a strange radio station. Brother Lin, I have never seen the network this computer is connected to. It should not be one of the 2 mainstream networks in the world. It seems to be a new satellite network. Zhao Tuanchuan looked solemn. The radio broadcast was about the news of the doomsday. She also located the location of the 32nd district and opened a website. There are a lot of special information on the website, as well as a large number of videos and photos about virus research. Some coordinated data are densely packed, which makes people dazzled. Open this and have a look. When Lin Qi saw the title about the special role of mutant creatures in the doomsday, curiosity drove him and he wanted to know urgently. As the information was opened, an article was displayed, and the two read it word by word. After a few minutes, the article was finally finished, and Lin Qi's doubts were mostly solved. Mutated creatures are divided into mutant insects and mutant beasts. 3 months ago, the top leaders of the Federation and even the world noticed the spread of the virus and began to look for solutions. But as the research became more and more in-depth, the 2 sides of this virus were gradually discovered. Under the promotion of a large number of experimental subjects, the speed of virus change was increased several times, resulting in 2 different development directions. The first is the birth of the virus body. The host is defeated by the virus and becomes a puppet-like existence. The second is the evolutionist. The self-healing human will stimulate the awakening of a certain gene in itself, thereby evolving hidden power. Insects and beasts also have similar changes, but their virus bodies will be controlled more purely, and the speed of mutation is much faster than that of humans. The evolution of these 2 creatures is called a mutant. After swallowing a large amount of blood and flesh energy, an evolution crystal will condense in the body, thus mutating the blood in all aspects. Brother Lin, I found out that this network was opened a month ago. After the network was disconnected, the Federation activated the satellite network, covering the entire Central Asian region, but later there was no electricity, and we didn't know the news on the network. The speed of this network is very slow, and there is not much information. It was rebuilt by abandoning the previous complicated local area network. Therefore, the content inside is basically related to what happened at the end of the world. Even the matter of renaming the major cities in the Federation as urban areas was not concealed, and even the progress of urban rescue can be found. Huh? What is this? Lin Qi saw another post and became curious about the title. The sequelae of self-healers? As the infected person heals himself, the virus will effectively improve the body of the human host. That is, the host absorbs the energy of the virus, which will cause certain genes to change, changing the host's personality and habits. The post gave an example that people who evolved in strength would become irritable and want to tear things down at any time, people who evolved in speed would become active, and those rare types of special evolvers would even develop special habits. Lin Qi couldn't help but look at Zhao Tuanchuan's chest. She didn't know what special habits she would have with this partial evolution. Noticing Lin Qi's gaze, Zhao Tuanchuan not only didn't care, but straightened her back. This is all nonsense. Why don't I feel that there's anything strange about me? Lin Qi pointed at the post and criticized it, saying that the sequelae were all excuses for the pressure under the doomsday. That's right, nonsense. Zhao Tuanchuan closed the post casually, and then clicked on another one. On the direction and comprehensiveness of genetic evolution. The two of them had unknowingly read until late at night, and they didn't even go out for dinner. In the end, they squeezed together on a chair, wanting to finish reading all the content at once. Brother Lin, why don't you go to bed? I'm so sleepy. Zhao Tuanchuan sat on one of Lin Qi's thighs, and said weakly. At first, she was full of curiosity about the content on the internet, but in the end, the more she read, the more boring it became. I'll go to bed after reading this article. Lin Qi rolled a mouse, quickly browsing the content, and sorted out today's gains in his mind. Except for the first few essential posts, most of the rest are imaginary content, speculations about the future, and important changes in major cities. Among them, the mutant rat groups that appeared in the 32 urban areas are also recorded. Okay, go to bed, and read the rest tomorrow. Lin Qi felt his thighs were numb from being pressed. After Zhao Tuanchuan stood up, he supported himself with a chair and limped out. After a simple wash, when he returned to the bedroom, Zhao Tuanchuan was already lying on the bed, still covered with a quilt, like a corpse. After the first time, Lin Qi was very conscious of lying aside, but his movements were slow and cautious. Brother Lin, are you hungry? Zhao Tuanchuan asked in a low voice not long after lying down. The corner of the quilt was lifted, revealing a small face. I am really a little hungry, but I'm lying down and too lazy to move. I'll eat tomorrow morning. No one will starve to death if they skip a meal. Anyway, the supplies in the house are enough for the two of them to eat for half a year, and they can feel full just by looking at them. I have milk. Do you want to drink it? Zhao Tuanchuan still lowered his voice, as if whispering to a classmate in class, with a sense of mystery. Ahem, fresh? Lin Qi almost choked and asked subconsciously. But after he reacted, he felt something was wrong. How come this girl was getting bolder and bolder? Could it be that after being touched by him, she began to let herself go? Of course it's new. Just tell me if you want to drink it or not. Zhao Tuanchuan stirred in the quilt, raising a gust of hot air. Drink. It happened that Lin Qi felt a little hungry, and it was definitely not for oral pleasure. Then move down, close your eyes, and don't open them. There was a hint of unquestionableness in Zhao Tuanchuan's tone, and she even pushed Lin Qi's shoulders to make him move his body. When she retreated to her shoulder, she reached out and covered Lin Qi's eyes. Here. Drink it. Zhao Tuanchuan put the back of her other hand in front of Lin Qi's mouth, but a warm current slowly overflowed from the gap between her fingers. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 22 Lockpicking Skill Advancement. The whole next day, Lin Qi still felt the taste of milk in his mouth and his body was warm. The temperature was less than 10 degrees, but he didn't feel cold at all. Zhao Tuanchuan felt even more relaxed, as if she had lost a few pounds. I'll go upstairs to see if there's anything useful. You study the internet first and find some valuable information. After drinking last night, Zhao Tuanchuan rolled to the corner of the bed and wrapped herself tightly. She didn't show her head until dawn. Okay, go ahead. I'll record anything interesting I see. Zhao Tuanchuan waved her hand, turned her back to Lin Qi, and never looked back. When she heard the door close, she let out a long sigh and opened the post she read last night. Is the sequelae of self-healers true? Why do I feel that I am becoming more and more abnormal? If it were in the past, the girl's reserve would make her keep a certain distance from Lin Qi. Even if she needed the other party's protection, she would not easily stick to him, but the excitement deep in her heart sometimes made her do unexpected things. Zhao Tuanchuan sighed in a serious manner and patted his chest lightly. It's all your fault. Why are you producing milk? After this pat, another strange feeling came over her heart. The chair turned and the girl began to search through the boxes and cabinets in the room. Lin Qi went up to the third floor along the corridor. In such a narrow environment, He did not bring a bow and arrow, but only a steel pipe and a dagger. First, he knocked on every room on the third floor. After confirming that there was no movement, he took out the wire and poked one room after another. Lin Qi took a general look at each room and left a mark on the door so that he could come and collect supplies later. Finally, when he reached the fifth floor, he found a compound bao in a family. Rich people have all kinds of strange toys. Lin Qi found a silicone doll on the fourth floor. The figure of the girl was so realistic that he almost thought it was a real person. The draw weight of this composite bow is very light, but the power is not small. Lin Qi tried to stretch it a few times, but felt that it was not as handy as the wooden bow he made himself, but he still took it with him and prepared to leave it to Zhao Tuanchuan for use. As for the 20 carbon feather arrows, they were even more like treasures. Lin Qi was unlocking the locks all morning, all the way to the 18th floor, checking all the rooms, and his lock-picking skills finally advanced to the next level. A total of 100 different locks opened, completed, lock-picking mastery advanced, perfect lock-picking, lock-picking, can open, can lock, the lock-picking skills have been advanced to the perfect stage, and there is no possibility of further advancement. The simple description seems very difficult to Lin Qi. Can you open any lock? But there is no chance to try now. Lin Qi is preparing to go downstairs with the supplies. Going down from the 18th floor, when he reached the third floor, Lin Qi felt his legs go weak. Obviously, he has been keeping the pace of going downstairs, and his thigh muscles are a little tired. I'm back. Do you have anything to eat? After a busy morning, Lin Qi didn't rest at all. He put the supplies he brought down from upstairs in the living room and looked for something to fill his stomach. Zhao Tuanchuan poked her head out of the kitchen and directly brought out a large bowl of food. These were all supplies in the room, including air-dried bacon, seafood, dried vegetables, etc. These ingredients were very valuable before the doomsday, but now they were as simple as possible and were stewed in a pot. I just found some things, they should be delicious. Zhao Tuanchuan took out a bowl and chopsticks and brought up the rice. It was almost sucked dry yesterday and needed some nutrition. The two of them quickly finished a large bowl of food. After eating and drinking, Zhao Tuanchuan took the initiative to pick up the compound bow and tried to train. Brother Lin, I read some information today, and there is one that you must be very concerned about. She stretched a few times and was able to fully pull the compound bow, but the action was not yet the key. Tell me about it. Lin Qi opened a bottle of beer and drank it slowly while lying on the sofa. He was completely relaxed at this moment, and the fatigue in his legs was slowly eliminated. After a lot of research, the Federation has confirmed that the crystals in mutant organisms can promote human genetic evolution. The stronger the genetic crystals, the better the effect on human genetic evolution. Regarding genetic evolution, no matter who it is, they will definitely pay attention to it. Zhao Tuanchuan spent most of his time in the morning looking for knowledge in this area. In other words, the Federation rescue team killed the mutant dogs to get genetic crystals. He also needs this thing now to improve the advanced skills of spearmanship, and it is very likely that when archery reaches the advanced conditions, he will also need genetic crystals to break through the barrier. Yes, and the meat of mutant organisms can be used after being cleaned, and it can even slightly strengthen the user's body. But these all have side effects, just like what I saw last night, but in the end of the world, who would care about those small side effects? So, that golden retriever is a bit of a pity. Thinking of the half-mutated golden retriever's corpse outside, if food is scarce, Lin Qi will definitely not waste it. After resting, Lin Qi took 5 carbon arrows and his own 20 wooden arrows, and took Zhao Tuanchuan out of the door and walked into the community. After learning about the role of gene crystals, Lin Qi couldn't wait to hunt some mutant creatures and find a few gene crystals to study. I don't know if it was an illusion, but the vegetation in the community was too lush. Perhaps because no one had trimmed it for 3 months, the original path was full of vines, and those branches had crossed the railings and extended to the outside. When he came to the corner where the mutant golden retriever died before, Lin Qi was shocked to find that the original body had disappeared, leaving only a pool of blood. On the lawn in the corner, there appeared a bottomless pit, which seemed to be the cave of some creature. Chapter 23 Zhao Tuanchuan's first time. It was eaten up so quickly. In just one night, half of the body of the mutant golden retriever disappeared. It was obvious that there were other mutant creatures in the community. And the cave on the ground seemed abnormal. Brother Lin, why do I feel creepy? Zhao Tuanchuan held a compound bow, but this cold weapon did not give her a sense of security at all. It's because there are few people. In such a large community, there are only two of us. We must be afraid. The habit of human beings living in groups was manifested at this moment. After just a few days away from the crowd, they felt something was wrong. The big hole on the lawn was obviously a cave dug by an animal, but they didn't know what kind it was. Lin Qi poked it with a steel pipe, but couldn't find the bottom at all, so he found a stone to fill it in. Follow me closely, let's take a look nearby. Holding a wooden bow, Lin Qi was alert and walked slowly in the community. Zhao Tuanchuan also looked very professional, but the compound bow in her hand was obviously a decoration. As winter approaches, both animals and insects are very scarce. Lin Qi walked around the community for a long time and did not encounter a living creature, but he still did not dare to relax his vigilance. After all, it must be no small thing to drag away a mutant golden-haired corpse weighing about 100 kilograms. Let's go out of the community to look for it. Whether hunting mutant beasts or zombies, it is what Lin Qi must do. He can't be like other survivors, hiding in a safe place with supplies and waiting for the federal government to stabilize the situation and rescue. When he arrived at the gate of the community, the zombies on the street had been cleared once, but a day later, a few zombies wandered over from nowhere, dragging their steps slowly. Lin Qi drew his bow and shot arrows, hitting the zombies' heads with several consecutive arrows, leaving the slowest zombie, and signaled Zhao Tuanchuan to practice. Come on, this is for you, try to see if you can hide it. Speaking of which, Zhao Tuanchuan has never killed a zombie. If you want to survive in the doomsday, you must have the courage to kill zombies. However, there was no resistance on the girl's face, but a kind of eagerness to try. She pulled a compound bow and aimed at the zombie's head, her face full of excitement. I'll shoot. The arrow flew past the zombie's ear and flew dozens of meters away. Try lower. Lin Qi instructed from the side. The virus zombie was very slow. When Zhao Tuanchuan reloaded the arrow, it had not taken a few steps. The girl took a deep breath and aimed at the zombie's head again. After the arrow tip and the zombie's head overlapped, she released her fingers. With a soft sound of puff, the carbon arrow directly penetrated the zombie's eye, but it did not penetrate from the back of the head. However, this injury had destroyed the zombie's brain. The walking zombie staggered and fell to the ground. How was it? How did it feel? It was the first time to kill a zombie. Lin Qi was afraid that Zhao Tuanchuan would have a psychological trauma, so he asked with concern. It's very exciting. It turns out that the human brain is so fragile. Zhao Tuanchuan's face was covered with blushes, which was obviously caused by excitement. This kind of psychological pleasure was even more exciting than when he relieved his stress. She couldn't help but take out an arrow and aimed at the zombies in the distance. I'll find you a target to practice on later. Now let's go find any mutant creatures. Lin Qi quickly stepped forward to retrieve the two arrows, and took Zhao Tuanchuan to search around. Although the stray cats and dogs in the city had been cleaned up in advance, there were still some remnants hiding in the dark. After being infected with a virus, some mutants reactivated their wildness and became ferocious hunters. These hunters will hunt all living things, even zombies. But it is still difficult to find these animals during the daytime at the beginning of the apocalypse. In normal times, you can still see a few birds, but why can't you see any now? After crossing 2 streets, there was still nothing. It seemed that the main task of the federal rescue team was not to rescue survivors, but to hunt these mutant creatures. Could they have eaten and drunk enough and hid? Zhao Tuanchuan guessed in his heart. For more than 2 months after the outbreak of the virus, most animals had no human interference. At first, many died because of the virus, but the survivors turned out to be a blessing in disguise and got a lot of food storage, just like the golden retriever yesterday, whose size has exceeded the original limit. What you said is possible. If we really can't find it, we can only kill some zombies first. Lin Qi raised his bow and shot another zombie. He looked at the requirements for the advanced bow and arrow skills, and only 1/3 of them had passed. Moreover, there were fewer and fewer zombies around. If you want to quickly improve your skill level, you must find a place where a large number of zombies gather. Let's try our luck in the place where the rescue team has not arrived. Outside the community, there is a commercial street. During the quarantine period, everything here was sealed off. There was not even a living person, let alone zombies. The only place with a dense population was the old city on both sides of the moat. Lin Qi found a shared bike on the street and opened the lock with a light pull. However, the real restriction on the bike is the code scanning operation, which is why no one cares about it even in the end of the world. But for Lin Qi, this is not a problem at all. As long as it is a lock, he can open it. Let's go, I'll take you. The seat at the back of the shared bike is just big enough for Zhao Tuanxuan to sit down. With Lin Qi's riding skills, it is easy to avoid zombies along the way. Zhao Tuanxuan sat astride the back, carrying the crossbow on his back, holding Lin Qi's waist with both hands. Who knew that as soon as he started, his body suddenly leaned forward and pressed heavily on Lin Qi's back. Brother Lin, slow down, it's almost squeezed out. Under the heavy pressure, Zhao Tuanxuan almost couldn't breathe, so he had to lean back to breathe smoothly. But even so, Lin Qi could still feel two soft balls against his back. Hold on, I'm going to drive. Two wheels are indeed much faster than two legs, and even if they pass by zombies, the zombies' stiff bodies can't react, so the two of them passed through the commercial street without any danger and came to the old city. Lin Qi parked the bicycle next to the guardrail of the river. When approaching here, Lin Qi had heard scattered gunshots, and it seemed that the rescue team was also nearby. Let's go in quietly and don't alarm those people. There were two armored vehicles parked next to a small bridge in the distance, and several zombies were wandering around. Obviously, the rescue teams had been in for a long time. Brother Lin, why don't we steal their cars? Zhao Tuanxuan looked eager to try, and was obviously full of interest in the car with extreme armor protection. No, your idea is terrible, they have guns. Although the rescue teams have entered the old city buildings, no one knows whether there will be people with sniper rifles observing them secretly. What's wrong with having a gun? I still have a bow and arrow. Look, someone is approaching the armored vehicle. As Zhao Tuanxuan pointed, a few sneaky figures really moved towards the armored vehicle. After making sure that there were no soldiers guarding the area, they quickly dealt with the zombies nearby and pried open the car door with force. Chapter 24 Little Whitehead. How could an armored vehicle with a safety factor that can defend against bullets be opened by a few crowbars? Those people worked for a long time, knocking on the armored vehicle and making clanging sounds, but they couldn't open a crack. Damn, this glass is bulletproof. If he got closer, Lin Qi would be able to recognize that the people who smashed the armored vehicle were the same group they met when they went to the central street. However, the bald man was shot dead by him, and the remaining 4 people came here for some reason. If we can't get it, they won't have it either. Deflate the tires. After the bald man died, a tall and strong man among the remaining 4 became the boss. At this moment, he was holding a cigarette in his mouth, squinting his eyes and looking vicious. Previously, they met the rescue team on a nearby street and wanted to ride in an armored vehicle but were refused, so they held a grudge. The advent of the doomsday makes people's desires infinitely magnified, and at the same time, even a small thing can affect people's emotions. If it were an ordinary time, these people would not dare to make a sound, and even dare not approach such an armored vehicle. The men used steel chisels, fire axes and daggers to poke for a long time before they pierced the 2 wheels. The strong man casually pressed the cigarette butt in his hand on the roof of the car. Just when he was about to say something, he heard a bang and his head exploded and shattered. The sticky brain splashed all over the face of the man next to him. His body softened and he fell to the ground, his hands quickly scratching his face. They shot. They dared to shoot. In the subconscious of these survivors, the rescue team was there to serve them, and they dared not do anything to them even if they were insulted. But the gunshots and the excitement of the exploding skull almost scared them out of their wits. The 3 hid behind the armored vehicle, trembling all over, and dared not look up. What should I do? The boss is dead again. The tall and strong man who died was their new boss. I'll count to 3 later, and everyone will run in different directions. If anyone can escape, they're the one who can escape. The man with glasses wiped the blood off his face and said tremblingly. Based on the location of the headshot just now, he roughly calculated the direction of the shooting, but did not remind the 2 people around him. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Run. Following his command, when he counted to 3, he made a move to get up and run away, but it was just a feint. The other 2 had already been nervous, and when they heard the word run, they ran out directly and ran towards the obstacles at the corner of the street. In the face of life and death crisis, both of them burst out at the limit of speed, and they could even feel the wind in their ears. But no matter how fast they were, They were still not as fast as experienced snipers. Seeing the sauce burst out of the head of his escaping companion and his body staggering to the ground, the man with glasses could no longer bear it, and used his hands and feet to quickly crawl to the side of the street. His speed was extremely fast. With the power of his hands and feet, he repeatedly turned on the ground, and finally rolled behind the opposite wall after the second gunshot. Hey? It's a Gene Awakener. A soldier on a residential building hundreds of meters away raised his head with a hint of surprise in his eyes. One escaped? It doesn't matter. These unruly people won't live long if they don't go to the quarantine safety zone. The captain's voice came from the headset, and the sniper put away his gun and walked downstairs. Killing 3 survivors was not a shock to him at all. After all, the zombies killed too many people and were likely to mistake people for zombies. The buildings in the old city are independent, and each family has a separate courtyard. When it was isolated, this area was implemented at home, so almost every family here has zombies, and all of them are trapped at home. In addition to the captive pets, rats hidden in the sewers, etc., it can be said to be a paradise for mutant creatures. At this moment, their team has killed several mutant creatures and obtained 5 gene crystals. Near the river, Lin Qi and Zhao Tuanchuan hid behind the bunker. Everything that happened just now was seen by the two of them. These rescue teams actually attacked the survivors. This change made both of them feel a sense of fear. After all, how could a mortal body dare to compete with hot weapons? Brother Lin, it's a human elimination plan. Zhao Tuanchuan's face was solemn. At this moment, she thought of an article she had seen on the internet before. At that time, she didn't care at all, but now thinking back, she couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. Is it to eliminate part of the human race, leaving only the elites and lucky people, right? Lin Qi had also read that article, and he quite agreed with that idea. After the doomsday, there will be a new life. If there is no change, it will only be eliminated by the times. At this moment, the two did not dare to approach the residential area, but followed a river to residential area on the other side, opened a gate lock, and entered the yard. The yard in the old city has a sense of age. It was the earliest area planned in the city. The yard is not big, but there are green vegetables planted in the flower beds. The grape racks have long become dead branches. The dry cement ground is full of cracks, and a rotten smell is diffused. There are zombies, be careful. Fortunately, they encountered a nest of zombies in the first house. Lin Qi handed the spear to Zhao Tuanchuan for self-defense, drew out the bow and arrow and aimed at the open door. As if sensing the breath of a living person, there was a chaotic movement in the living room on the first floor. Footsteps slowly approached, and a bloody hand stretched out from it and grabbed the door. It's an infected body. Different from the virus body zombies, the infected body zombies are very threatening. Director Wang chased him for a long time. However, as soon as this kind of zombie showed its head, an arrow broke through the air and nailed it on his forehead with a whoosh. The powerful impact directly hit him back into the room. Lin Qi drew out another arrow and aimed at the door. Wait, there's more. As the voice fell, a zombie slowly crawled out of the door, with long gray hair on his head scattered, and his face could not be seen at all. A family should be in good order. I will arrange a room for you. At this distance, Lin Qi hardly needed to aim deliberately. As soon as the arrow in his hand loosened, the zombies were unable to struggle and fell to the ground. After killing the 2 zombies, he walked to the door, opened the other half of the door, and cleared a space for entry. There can't be only 2 zombies in a family. There may be more upstairs. After checking the 3 guest rooms, kitchen and bathroom on the first floor and making sure there were no other zombies, Lin Qi locked his eyes on the upstairs. Going up the stairs, he heard the sound of banging on the door, and it was not just one. There were 2 closed doors in the upstairs room, and one was open. The sound came from the 2 closed doors, and it was very rhythmic, as if scratching and banging. Lin Qi made a gesture, signaling Zhao Tuanchuan to get ready, and stretched out his hand to quickly push on the door. Zhao Tuanchuan used a steel pipe to push the door open with a creak. There was a pool of blood on the ground. As the door was pushed open, a clear mark was left on the floor, but no zombies appeared for a while. Just as Lin Qi was puzzled, 2 small white heads suddenly popped out from behind the door, staring at Lin Qi with scarlet eyes. The small mouth suddenly opened, almost to the back of the head, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth that did not belong to a toddler. One of them screamed strangely, jumped up, and rushed towards Lin Qi. Chapter 25 Goodbye Rat Pack. Damn it. At such a close distance, the arrow almost went into the mouth of the little zombie, and the powerful force directly nailed it to the ground. However, another little zombie also jumped up, waving its tender little claws and grabbing Lin Qi's legs. Lin Qi held the wooden bow horizontally in front of him and kicked the little zombie out. It turned out to be two mutant zombies. Fortunately, they are just small things. At such a close distance, it was only then that the skin of the two little zombies had turned pale. The little zombie that was kicked away rolled on the ground for a few times, and when it stood up again, it made an attacking posture again. Its whole body crawled on the ground, like a ferocious beast, with a torn mouth that almost split to the back of its head, and its mouth was full of blood. "Give me the gun." Lin Qi took the spear from Zhao Tuanchuan behind him, and his hand slipped, and the tip of the gun was against it. "These two zombies are just 1 month old, right?" Zhao Tuanchuan stood behind Lin Qi, looking nervous. This kind of weird zombies actually gave people a bigger shock. "Why, do you still want to feed them?" Lin Qi didn't dare to relax at all. The two little guys were very agile, jumping up and down like two little wild cats. Perhaps feeling threatened, the little zombie roared in a low voice, but its body was pressed even lower. Zhao Tuanchuan punched Lin Qi lightly, his face full of displeasure. The little zombie in the house obviously didn't have enough patience, and jumped up again and pounced on Lin Qi. This time, the power of his legs burst out, obviously towards Lin Qi's head. As long as he bit it, with his full mouth of sharp teeth, he could easily bite through a person's trachea. However, when it jumped to the limit, the spear stabbed instantly, picked its neck, and fell directly to the ground. My strength seems to have increased a lot. Using the spear again gave Lin Qi a different feeling. The steel pipe in his hand seemed to be lighter, and it was more handy to use. After nailing the little zombies to the ground, Lin Qi stepped into the room and checked the situation inside. This is a bedroom. In addition to the two little zombies nailed to the ground, there is another zombie on the bed. However, this zombie has been eaten to the point that only a skeleton is left, and only the head is still moving unconsciously. Poor family of 3. On the bed is a female zombie, but it's a pity that there is no trace of female characteristics at all. Lin Qi stabbed the two little zombies to death and put them on the bed, which can be regarded as making the family neat and tidy. Such a small zombie, it's really pitiful. Zhao Tuanchuan leaned in and looked at the little zombies that were no longer moving, his eyes full of heartache. If it were peacetime, these two twins would definitely be lovable children. For them, perhaps death is the best destination, at least they won't feel pain. Lin Qi turned up the quilt and covered the corpse on the bed to prevent it from being exposed and being eaten by the mutant beasts that broke in. Killing these two mutant zombies has improved Lin Qi's gun skills. He only needs to find the gene crystal and kill 100 zombies to meet the requirements. After searching several rooms on the second floor and making sure there is no danger, Lin Qi moved a chair and sat at the window, looking at the two armored vehicles parked on the opposite bridge from a distance. At this moment, the rescue teams have come out of the residential area and surrounded the armored vehicles for inspection. "Captain, 2 wheels of one of our cars are destroyed." A member of the combat team looked at the tire that was stabbed and cracked, and his face was speechless. You have to know that this is an armored vehicle, and the tires are different from those of ordinary cars. How much resentment must be there to ruin the tires like this? Remove the tires, you two take out the spare tires and put them on, and the others are on guard. After a while, several members of the rescue team removed the wheels. Just after changing a tire, they suddenly seemed to notice something, and several people quickly raised their guns and were on guard. It turned out that after killing the 3 survivors, the blood left behind had unknowingly spread into the sewer nearby. The fresh blood slowly awakened the sleeping mutant creatures. It's a mutant rat. Mutant rat. The soldier who first discovered the mutant rat screamed and quickly fired a warning shot. He saw dense mutant rats pouring out of the sewer, like a black tide, surrounding everyone. So many rats. Standing at the window on the second floor, Lin Qi could clearly see the surrounding situation from a high position. Not only in the sewer, but also in the gaps under the river bridge, a large number of mutant rats appeared, surrounding the 2 armored vehicles. For a while, the sound of gunfire continued, but such heavy firepower could not stop the pace of the mutant rats at all. The death of just a few hundred was not a threat to them at all. "Get in the car. Get in the car." The captain quickly issued orders. During this period of time, they never dared to go out to hunt mutant creatures at night. They were afraid of encountering mutant rats in the city. Unexpectedly, They encountered them in the daytime today. He knew that his team was no match for the mutant rats, so he quickly called the team members to get into the armored vehicle and planned to escape. But as the rats spread, the mutant rats jumped up and pounced on the nearest soldier, biting with sharp teeth and easily tearing off his protective suit. Spray the animal repellent powder. A stream of white powder sprayed out from the special device, temporarily blocking the attack of the mutant rats. Taking this opportunity, the team members quickly rushed to the intact armored vehicle, crushed the mutant rats, and drove away. The rats chased for dozens of meters before gradually retreating. In just a short while, the 3 corpses on the ground had been eaten up, not even the bones were left, and even the flowing blood was licked clean. The dead mutant rats were also dragged back to the sewer by their companions as spare food. I never thought that the mutant rats would be the biggest threat. Lin Qi looked at the dissipated rats with a frightened face. If he faced these mutant rats, he would have no countermeasures at all. Looking at Zhao Tuanxuan on the side, she was even more pale and breathing rapidly. It was obvious that rats had a natural suppressive power over women. Without humans squeezing the space, these creatures in the dark will multiply at the fastest speed and eventually completely occupy the city. It seems that we have to prepare in advance and find a truly safe camp. Originally, Lin Qi thought that he could slowly gain a foothold in the city and develop in a low-key manner by relying on his own strength, but the moment the mutant rats appeared, his fantasy was completely shattered. This is no longer a problem that can be solved by personal force. Brother Lin, let's run quickly. What if those rats find us? Zhao Tuanxuan pulled Lin Qi with trembling hands, her face full of pleading. She didn't want to face that kind of terrifying thing. Even though she was so far away, her arms were already covered with goosebumps. Wait here first, I'll go see if I can pick up some good stuff. Lin Qi looked at the armored vehicle still parked by the bridge, his eyes full of surprise. For others, the car door could not be pried open, but for him, it was within reach. Maybe there was an unexpected gain in the armored vehicle. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.